Western Suburbs scored 3 tries to 2 against the favoured Illawarra side last night. This afternoon, the Sydney City Roosters had a big win over the Sydney Tigers.
Game number 2 of the Optus Cup started in favour of the Tigers. After Paul Sirinen created room in the back, Ian Heron was up front to top it off. Much was expected of the Roosters. Early on, it came in the form of Andrew Walker. At half-time, the Roosters led 8-6. The second half was one for the Roosters, in particular its debutants. Darren Ramaker got over for his maiden, then John Simon. Australian captain Brad Fittler too made a smooth transition into Sydney City colours.
The Australian captain scores!
While the Roosters shone, all was dim for the Tigers. Injuries to stars Ellery Hanley and Tim Brasher. Man of the match, Rooster Ivan Cleary, picking 7 from 8 in a 38 points to 10 romp over the Tigers. The season opener last night between Illawarra and West saw an exciting start for all concerned, but only West left feeling the same way. The Magpies exited Steelers Stadium first round winners 17-8. West scoring first, Cherry Mesher in the 16th minute. The Steelers' replies lied in the hands of winger Philly Saru, but West, with further tries from Craig Coleman and Damien Kennedy and accuracy off the boot of fullback Andrew Leeds, secured the win. Leith Mulligan, 10 News.
Tonight's sports report is proudly brought to you by your local Ford.
He's thrown 2 and 3. And on the Gold Coast last night, it was a point-scoring spree at Carrara Stadium. New Bear Brett Dallas, the standout, with 3 tries.
Now the cover comes. Dallas looking for try number 3. Gets it.
Norths led 24-14 at the break, and while the Chargers managed to run in 4 tries, it wasn't enough. The Bears were on fire after the break, recording a 16-point win. Brent Rees, 7 Nightly News.
The ARL Premiership was completed today with indications that a rugby league competition without Super League players would be a wash with one-sided matches. While striking players were at home watching the last 2 of just 4 games this weekend, players from the Gold Coast and Souths were on a go slow as Norths and Manly scored easy wins. Even in the ARL heartland, fans can see a one-sided game coming. And a half-full Brookvale Oval watched Manly resume some famous partnerships. Cliff Lyons setting free Stephen Menzies.
He can score a try, this bloke.
The league's leading try scorer in '95 picked up where he left off last season.
He links up with Menzies and it's try number 2.
Against a ragged Rabbits defensive line, the Sea Eagles' backs had a picnic. Former All Black Craig Innes quickly fitting into his new environments.
Innes will have his first try in the Optus Cup for Manly.
An 18-0 half-time scoreline blew out even further, the match beginning to resemble a touch football game, as Manly ran in a total of 8 tries.
And Manly have topped the last try, that's an even better one.
Revelling in the service provided him by the Sea Eagles playmakers, phenomenal back row forward Menzies began the season with 4 touchdowns of his own.
Away firstly from Brown, then away from Bell, and that is 4 tries.
South's Alan Jones and Ken Shine not likely to crack too many smiles this year. Last night, one of North Sydney's key buys, Super League defector Brett Dallas, scored 3 first-half tries, enough for the Bears to secure a simple 42-26 victory over the Gold Coast.
Clubs, tonight really was the start of the season for the South Queensland Crushers and Parramatta. At full time, the Crushers who walked off the winners 24-20. Here's Peter Kelly's report from Suncorp Stadium in Brizzy.
The Crushers made a flying start through rookie halfback Troy Pezzett. The 21-year-old, in his first grade debut, produced a brilliant individual try for a 6-0 lead.
Into the hands of Pezzett again, he puts on a little skip and away he goes. Oh, how easy.
Only moments later, the Crushers had a fair try disallowed, the touch judge ruling the ball beat Jason Hudson over the sideline. The side swapped penalty goals before Parramatta hit back to level the scores. Russell Wire on the end of a clever set move.
He gets it away, oh, beautiful stuff.
The Eels lost Aaron Raper with a dislocated elbow. Props Tony Hearn and Peter Johnson produced some rugby league of a bygone era.
Peter Johnson came up with some great stuff there. Tony Hearn didn't like it one little bit.
Before the Crushers went ahead again, Craig Teven opened up the Eels and found plenty of support.
Oh, great team passing. He gets the try.
Parramatta, down 16-8 at the break, started the better in the second half. Jim Dimmick and Russell Wire combined with a chip and chase for a try to Jared McCracken.
Loses the footing, gets up, goes again and puts it down.
Then a shocking Crushers mistake on their own line gave the Eels a 20-16 lead.
And put down by Hudson, a chance, it's a try!
But South Queensland weren't finished. With 5 minutes to go, Pezzett came up with a second solo effort, this one a match winner.
Into the arms of Pezzett, he rolls it in, he'll get the bounce!
The Crushers home 24-20.
Rugby League's second round comes to a head right after the news, with Wests and Brisbane playing in the match of the day. In other results, a 16-all draw between Penrith and Canberra. The Tigers upset Canterbury 20-16. Manly 36 beat the Gold Coast 22. Norths defeated South 32-16, and Auckland 8-point winners over Illawarra.
The Warriors hadn't played for almost 6 weeks, and early mistakes were inevitable. But after 20 minutes, Auckland got it right when Rapati opened the defence from a set move.
Rapati, beautiful work move.
Illawarra was unlucky not to level before the break. On at least 2 occasions, that final pass failed to find the mark.
What a waste of a pass.
Although the Steelers scored 2 late tries, the Warriors provided most of the highlights, with Rapati proving almost unstoppable in the 18-10 victory.
What a try!
At Penrith Stadium, the Raiders and the Panthers were concerned with their lack of play, the break obviously affecting some more than others.
It's been caught out there.
With Canberra's defence tiring, new buy Jason Williams swooped to give his team a brief advantage.
Well, that was a great chip ahead.
But a daily special got the Raiders off on the right foot in the second half.
He'll score.
In a seesawing contest, Farah then answered for Penrith, and an exciting finish was guaranteed.
Well, there'll be a try here.
With less than 2 minutes remaining, Canberra clung to a 4-point lead. But Beckett crossed for the Panthers, and the teams finished 16-all.
Try in the corner.
And at Parramatta Stadium, the first real upset of the year. The Tigers trailed Canterbury 16-8 at half-time, but staged a remarkable recovery to beat the reigning premiers 20 points to 16. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Last year's grand finalists Manly led the Gold Coast 30-6 at half-time, then went to sleep. The Sea Eagles got home 36-22.
Manly blasted out of the blocks at Brookvale with a devastating first half. The Sea Eagles went to the break with a 24-point lead, but that was tarnished by a Terry Hill shoulder injury. In the second term, the Chargers outscored Manly 16-6, but it wasn't enough to land an upset. At the stadium, Souths enjoyed a brief lead against Norths before the visitors got cracking and did what most expected. The Bears ran in 5 tries to 2. Jason Taylor had a captain's knock with 1 try and 6 goals, while Ben Eichen crossed twice in the 32-16 win. A flying start for Cronulla in the local derby against St George at Shark Park. Alan Bateman at the end of the best-of-3 first-half tries.
That's an amazing try by the Sharks.
Andrew Eddinghausen bagged a couple of tries to put the game out of reach before St George crossed twice to make the score respectable. The Sharks home 24-16. In Perth, the Western Reds made a bright start against Newcastle and led 10-4 at half-time.
Chris Cleaver and a fine try indeed.
But a 45-metre solo try by centre Darren Tracy helped the Knights escape in the final minute, 22-16. As expected, Sydney City proved too strong for North Queensland in Townsville. The Roosters scored 6 tries to win 40-2. The ladder after 2 rounds has 6 teams all on 4 points. Sydney City leading the way on for and against. Western Suburbs and Brisbane play for their points straight after the news. Footy tab
clicks straight into top gear.
Puts the ball inside. A beautiful play.
The crowd weren't happy with several of the visitors' tackles. Neither was Brisbane coach Wayne Bennett, apologising later for his players' aggression. The Magpies stayed with the Broncos most of the way, but tired in the heat. Brisbane winning 36-14.
Then puts on a step. Brennov will score. Well, there he is.
Aggies leading all the way to win 22 points to 8.
Always, West coach Tommy Raudonikis called on his side's pride to bring off the upset, and that passion was obvious early. West dominating possession but unable to break through the Warriors' defence. Although favourites, Auckland were desperate to shake last year's woeful away record, and despite absorbing a heap of pressure, the defence was still telling.
Oh, big hit over the...
But finally, sheer weight of possession told. West finding the line and a 4-0 lead.
McGinn McGuinness, the speedy McGuinness, the 19-year-old goes up.
That stirred the young Magpies, the inexperienced home team beginning to believe in themselves. They opened the gap to 8.
Willis, will he find Georgialis? Cuts Georgialis out. Dooley in the corner.
The sideline conversion by Andrew Leeds sending West to the break with a 10-0 lead. A penalty goal early in the second half had injured Magpie Paul Langmack convinced an upset was in progress. The Warriors, though, quickly closed the gap. Jovagunner's size and juggling skills cutting the difference to just 6.
He did well to actually pop out and pop way out.
With the game again up for grabs, tempers began to fray, the side swapping penalties to make it 14-8. Then the turning point. Auckland's English import Dennis Betts sent off on a headbutting charge. Referee Eddie Ward missing the instigating headbutt by hooker Cherry Masher.
Probably baited a little bit there.
There's one there.
One there.
Yep.
He reacts.
A man down, the Warriors panicked, and West simply ran away with the 2 competition points. The Magpies winning 22 points to 8.
To his brother McGuinness. He's heading. One can't stop him. Hockey won't stop him.
And the Contenders have won a great game of rugby league with Canterbury at the Sydney Football Stadium. In front of 16,500 people, the Roosters got home 10-4. Brad Fittler scoring the only try of the match to keep his side's unbeaten record intact. Many thought that the bite had gone out of the Bulldogs.
Oh, Ivan Cleary.
The opening to this match was all enthusiasm, and that was from both sides.
Stampeding run.
Canterbury kept the ball moving and came within a whisker of banking the first try.
Timo is short.
It was quality football as the Dogs again yapped at the scoreboard.
A metre from the line.
The Roosters lost Cleary to the sin bin for holding Timu down as Canterbury booted to a 4-2 lead at half-time.
That's almost a formality.
A man short may be, but the Roosters really only needed 2 players, Lamb and Fittler.
Lamb held it back. Fittler! He scores! Big left foot step.
8-4 was topped up to 10-4, Sydney City victorious in the best match of the season so far.
The Rugby League Premiership continues right after the news, with Norths up against Manly in the local derby at Bear Park. In other results, Western Reds defeated Cronulla. Penrith rolled South Queensland 22-4. The Gold Coast edged out Souths 18-16, and Parramatta surprised Canberra 20-14, with Raiders captain Ricky Stewart facing X-rays on a knee injury.
Despite the wet, a good home crowd was on hand to cheer the Raiders, but it was Parramatta that started like champions. Freeman was in everything, and was rewarded with his own 4-pointer to put the Eels ahead 10-0. Daly squeezed through a tight fit for Canberra's first try, while Parramatta's Troy Campbell found himself on report for this high hit. Wiki did it legally, and the Eels went to half-time leading 10-8. Parramatta started the second half like the first, with Spence cashing in off Dimmick's good work. Andruka crashed over in the corner to keep the Raiders in touch, and then Smith joined Campbell on report for the same offence. In a big upset, Parramatta got the points 20-14, but the loss of Ricky Stewart could prove bigger trouble for the Raiders. In the art of support play, Penrith gave the Crushers a big lesson today, with Robbie Beckett on the spot twice in an impressive all-round display. The high tackles weren't missing from Suncorp Stadium. Penrith's Morven Edwards also on the report list in his side's 22-4 triumph. At Redfern Oval, Souths opened the scoring against the Gold Coast, but it was the visitors who took control going to half-time with a 14-6 lead. The Rabbitohs hit back to level with 2 quick tries, but the Gold Coast hung on for its first win of the season, taking the points 18-16. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
It was full-time just moments ago in Perth, and the Western Reds hit the winners list with a 7-point victory over Cronulla.
The Reds got down to business early against Cronulla, Chris Ryan hurdling to the line to register first points. But the home side's bright start was ruined by a shocking injury toll.
Yeah, I lost 4, one with the shoulder and 3 knocked out.
Remarkably, though, the spare parts Reds held together, with replacement Darren Higgins grabbing the spotlight with 2 first-half tries. In Brisbane last night, the scoreboard nearly blew a fuse as the Broncos smashed their way through Illawarra. It was a lightning-quick opening quarter hour with 3 Brisbane tries, none better than the Steve Renouf-Wendell Saylor partnership.
Renouf is over the 30. McGregor is the chaser. He's held on. Then back for Sailor.
24,500, nearly every one of them a local, saw the Broncos blow to a 26-4 half-time lead. The 5-try first half was matched by 5 more in the second. Alan Langer directed the show, Brisbane victorious 54-4. For Illawarra, it was its biggest loss since entering the competition in 1982. Last weekend, the Tigers beat defending premiers Canterbury. Last night, they lost the fight against the Cowboys.
A little bit of a bid going on here.
North Queensland did it comfortably, victorious 17-2 for its first win of the season. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
The North Harbour Derby. The Bear Park faithful given an early reminder of the way the Eagles swamped Norths in 1995.
Lyons has gone through the gap. Can his legs get him there? They might be able to. Shannon Nevin can't either.
The Bears wanted revenge. Butner might have broken the deadlock after 19 minutes.
Butner! He's short!
Manly, though, had the best of the first half hour. The Lions' inside pass leading to the first try.
Danny Moore scores!
From the 35th minute, 7 minutes of action to bring any Bear out of hibernation. Brett Dallas grabbing his chance.
Dallas! He's over!
Then Taylor setting up Moore and Florimo for 12-6.
Florimo scores!
Well, North Sydney.
Straight after the break, Ben Eichen steamed onto a Larson pass.
And then a big, strong run by Eichen.
Taylor's conversion put the Bears 12 ahead. And though Steve Menzies scored his customary try, there was no denying North's just their 36th win from the 100 games against their arch-rivals.
The league match 34-30. The Dragons scoring 6 tries. Jamie Ainscough ran in 3 for the Knights.
From stud boots to boot studs, an afternoon of line dancing. Ricky Walford the first to take lead.
They won't catch him. Walford's away.
Down 6-0, Newcastle turned to deft hands. Matthew John setting up Brett Grogan.
He's looking for his winger. His winger's a mile behind him. Grogan, he does.
Approaching the break, Jeff Hardy's toe tapped. The Dragons ahead 12-6 until another sleight of hand. Jamie Ainscough stealing the floor for a match-levelling solo.
50 metres to go, but there's nobody closing the gap.
But after sharing the card for the first half, the Dragons waltzed through the second.
Hardy's there now. Quinn will score.
Troy Stone's try, the third in 15 minutes.
Oh, he's run straight through them.
4 minutes later, a 34-12 lead.
Look at Vic Donnelly. Look at him go.
Using strictly ball work, the Knights hit back with 3 late tries, but their moves all too late, the Dragons winning 34-30.
We didn't play with any pride, and our defence was appalling. We were never able to sustain any pressure on the St George line for that same reason, and it wasn't late into the game that we started to perform to our potential. But the game was well lost before we even had a chance to win it.
The responsibility of rebuilding this club is ours in 1996, and we're well aware of that. And the addition of people like Goldthorpe back to the club just helps us show the rugby league world that through all this turmoil, St George has been able to become solid and unified again.
Well, against Canberra last week, Parramatta was brought back to earth by West today. The Magpies were always in control, and only 2 late tries by the Eels made the score as close as it was.
With most of the ball, West tried to put it to good use, and on numerous occasions the Eels found themselves defending desperately. Parramatta also had a couple of chances, but West always looked like they'd score first. A vintage Langmack pass got the Magpies on the board. West continued to display wonderful ball skills, and by the break the score was 12-0. The Magpies sealed the game when Georgialis scored another great team try. The only consolation for Parramatta, 2 late 4-pointers in the 18-14 result. At Suncorp Stadium last night, almost 35,000 fans watched the local derby as the Broncos and Crushers battled for supremacy.
Look at Peacock's run!
In what was looming as a major upset, the Crushers had got the best of Brisbane and went to half-time leading 8-6. But the Broncos grew another leg, and if not for brilliant cover and crushing defence, it could have been a runaway. As it was, Brisbane scored 4 tries in 20 minutes to finish 28 points to 8 winners, but at last they got a tough workout. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Still to win a match, Canterbury turned to a new face to spark the feel of old. Hazam El Masri scoring his first top-grade try.
The youngster, he'll score!
St George's reply, as sharp as their fullback's hands.
Quinn! Silver's after him, but Quinn!
Trailing 6-4 at the break, the Dragons controlled the second half.
Toy, they must score!
The victory sealed by Anthony Mundine's second try, St George winning 26-6.
Oh, they clutched at it!
Is right after the news, with St George taking on Canterbury at Belmore Sports Ground. In other results, Cronulla avenged last week's loss to the Western Reds. Sydney City beat Penrith, Canberra ran up a record score against the Cowboys, Illawarra flogged Souths, Auckland down Norths. In a late game, Manly leads the Gold Coast, and the Tigers surprised Newcastle.
Balmain's Ian Heron proved he's just not quick on his feet. Smart play from the veteran winger saw Morrison cross for the first try.
And the Tigers are going to get the first try.
But when push came to shove, the Knights dug deep. The only problem, the Tigers too had a tank full of determination. But a mistake by Brasher late in the half allowed Newcastle back into the game. 4 points the difference at the break. But it was the Tigers who went on with the job. Tries to Hanley, and Heron ensured the Knights' woes continue for another week.
And scores the try for the Tigers.
At Bruce Stadium, new halfback Jason Ferris made a solid start against the Cowboys, but it was Bradley Clyde in his comeback game that stood out. Another star, Ruben Wiki, crossed 4 times in the 66 points to 10 assault. At Steelers Stadium, South's Martin Masala was again in trouble with the referee, sent off in the 35th minute for running with a raised elbow. For Illawarra, the 56 points to 14 thrashing was soured when centre Paul McGregor suffered a suspected broken arm. And at Carrara, the Gold Coast Chargers are keeping Manly honest. The late start has so far worked to the locals' advantage, Manly leading just 6-0 at half-time. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
And at the football stadium, the Roosters proved too strong for Penrith.
Brad Fittler put on an exhibition when he confronted his former Panther teammates for the first time, before Peter Clark found limited resistance as he sped away for a 70-metre try.
Peter Clark all the way under the post.
The Panthers narrowed the gap to 2 points when Scott Pethybridge flew in from the wing, before the Roosters drew away to make the points safe. Across the Tasman, and desperate in-goal defence saved Auckland from conceding 2 North Sydney tries in the first half.
And Stacey gets there. Good work.
3 penalties gave Auckland a 6-2 lead, but the Warriors were in the wars. A sickening head clash between Gavin Hill and Mark Horrow. But Richie Blackmore's round-the-corner special sent Jean Namu into open spaces, and Stacey Jones capitalised for a 12-2 lead.
Jones, the first try of the match.
The Bears' unbeaten run ending, though Michael Butner gave the Warriors a late scare when he set up a try for Greg Florimo. And last night at Shark Park, it was payback time for Cronulla. 3 tries in 14 minutes gave the Sharks a 14-0 half-time lead against the Western Reds.
Andrew Eddinghausen scores.
After last week's loss in Perth, Cronulla gained quick revenge, coasting home 26-12. Sydney City remains the only unbeaten side. Manly and the Gold Coast are still playing, while Canterbury and St George will battle it out after the news. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
The Stevens brothers, Jason and Paul, are going back to St George. Their return to the Dragons is pending legal action. On the field, Manly have skittled Auckland in a torrid game at Brookvale Oval tonight. The Sea Eagles were always in control, winning it 22 points to 10.
The Manly-Auckland fireworks have been going on for months over the Matthew Ridge affair, and the pre-game hype looked far more frightening than the early Warriors' defence.
Cuts out Cunningham, then it goes out for Terry Hill. Innocent is Innocent.
It didn't take long for try number 2, Lyons and Menzies setting up Terry Hill in a 10-0 lead.
Menzies inside the 30-metre line, he simply draws and passes.
Hill set a scare through the Manly camp, clutching a shoulder. Richie Blackmore sailing a little too high as Auckland looked rattled, before Jean Namu's brilliance got them back into the game.
Steps around Hopewadi and goes in to score.
The glory didn't last long as Jack Elsgood broke some ordinary defence going all the way.
And Jack Elsgood, he's run 90 metres.
Right on half-time, referee Kelvin Jeffs' patience ran out. Gavin Hill set off. The Eagles went to the break leading 16-6. Soon after, the Warriors attacked, but the pass ruled forward. Then the touch judge got it right. Stephen Menzies taking the corner post. Sea Eagles captain Jeff Tuvey then copped a nasty knock. The broken nose seeing him off, but he did return. But not before Manly put the game away. Menzies handling twice and a great four-pointer.
Danny Moore does that. He's down to the 20. He goes back for Menzies, and Menzies gets a try.
Blackmore may find himself in trouble over an alleged kick. Phil Blake picking up a late try, but Manly comfortable victors, 22 points to 10.
And a thriller at the WACA, Canterbury finally getting on the board for 96 with a 4-point victory over the Western Reds. It was close throughout, John Timu scoring 2 tries for the Dogs in the 18-14 win.
Desperate to register their first win of the season, the reigning champions were rewarded in the opening minutes. But the Reds were quick to respond with a brilliant run capped off by Chris Ryan.
A mistake, and Chris Ryan has dashed away to score the try.
A Reds penalty gave Daryl Halligan the perfect opportunity to put Canterbury in front.
Doesn't miss from there.
The Reds' Mick Potter was in for a shell shock courtesy of Jason Hetherington.
That's a very high tackle. For mine, that's a send-off, or at least 10 in the bin. I reckon that's got to be off.
Handling errors plagued both sides, especially the Reds, but Julian O'Neill came through to level scores at 8 points apiece at the half.
Strikes it sweet as a nut. Thank you very much.
Again, O'Neill was instrumental, providing Shane Barrett an avenue for success at his debut first-grade game.
Get there. Now it's still on. Barrett will get the bounce, and Barrett will score. What a great try. Super little kick from O'Neill.
But the Bulldogs bounced back in the best way possible. First, Simon Gillies.
Throws the ball away. It's come up, though, I think, in the hands of Gillies, and Gillies has scored the try.
Then Timu stormed through to put the visitors ahead 18-14.
Timu scores! Timu scores his second try.
The Reds' hopes of a last-gasp victory were thwarted when a forward pass was ruled in the dying seconds.
That was very marginal, that pass, very marginal. There it is.
The game's all over.
The Reds shattered by their disappointing finish, but Canterbury finally notching up a win.
Has enhanced its reputation as one of the gun teams of the Premiership after scoring a comprehensive victory over West at Campbelltown this afternoon. The Roosters scored 4 tries in the 20-0 win. The only low point, a sickening collision that put a West player in hospital.
Ringside, 2 of the game's shrewdest coaches, and it was Phil Gould's Roosters who threw the first punch against a team that seemed unwilling to defend.
Now through a second, the supporters with Matt Singh. Matt Singh is sent on a 20-metre run to the corner.
That hit shook the Magpies. They tried to pull themselves together, but still couldn't crack the scoreboard.
Bell tries to stop.
A frightful head-on collision between Tony Iro and Andrew Leeds left the West fullback in hospital.
Very, very nasty.
Then came another blow, with the Roosters grabbing an 8-0 half-time lead.
Comes back the way.
The Magpies immediately piled on the pressure, and the Roosters soaked it up.
Jorgensen goes high and takes it.
Matt Singh showed quick feet and, more importantly, hands, as the touch judge ruled Singh grounded the ball first for a 12-0 lead.
Great decision. It's been a good decision by all involved.
That was Singh's second try, but moments later his afternoon finished with bruised kidneys. The Roosters topped up the score to 20-0 to remain unbeaten after 5 rounds of the Premiership.
Peter Clark has scored, and that is basically game, set, match for the Sydney City Roosters.
Peter Overton, National 9 News.
Tonight's sports report is proudly brought to you by your local Ford dealer.
Today between the Sydney Tigers and Cronulla. In other results, North defeated South Queensland 18-4, Newcastle beat Penrith 24-22, Brisbane thumped North Queensland 58-14, and St George 30 defeated Canberra 20, with 2 Raiders players sent off.
From the kick-off, it was clear feelings were running high.
Look at that defence coming in.
Early luck was with the Raiders, and a wayward penalty resulted in their first try. Andruku, the player on the spot. Mundine hit back for the Dragons, a brilliant run complemented by a brilliant pass.
I was stunned just watching that play.
In another blow for Canberra, Lomax was sent off just before half-time. Bartram's rest coming a couple of minutes early.
Right across the head.
1 man up, St George looked winners, but the green machine was back in front when Nagus ran off Clyde.
Nagus gets into the corner.
However, any thoughts of a courageous Canberra victory hit the turf when Pongia was also sent off with 20 minutes remaining. From there, the Dragons ran in 2 quick tries for their 30 points to 20 victory.
That's the ball game now.
Penrith looked home and hosed after leading a troubled Newcastle by 16 points at half-time, but then came a remarkable fight back. 3 tries to 0 after the break finally gave Knights fans something to cheer about. Newcastle winners 24 points to 22.
Another great Newcastle try.
Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
At Bear Park, North Sydney returned to the winners list with a 14-point win over South Queensland. Norths meant business after last week's loss to Auckland, and a pile-driving David Fairley opened the account. But 5 minutes later, Travis Norton stepped through and around the Bears to make it a try apiece. 8-4 to Norths at the break, the Crushers handed Chris Caruana a 4-pointer, and with Jason Taylor's 5 goals, the Bears were easy 18-4 winners. It's not often the ball bounces the right way for the Gold Coast, but the team that seems to be constantly clinging to rugby league life notched up an impressive win over Illawarra last night. A man down because of a send-off, the Chargers still outclassed the Steelers, dispatching them 28 points to 20. Jim Dimmick was the ringmaster in Parramatta's win over South. His bomb found the mark.
It's taken on the full, and that's a great try.
And so did this pass.
Oh, that's freaky stuff.
The Eels scored 7 tries, 3 of them to Russell Wire. Final score, 38-10. And West fullback Andrew Leeds has had 2 plates inserted in his face after fracturing his cheekbone in this collision yesterday. Leeds will be out for 2 months. The latter and Sydney City is the only unbeaten side after 5 rounds. Brisbane, Manly, Norths and St George are all on 8 points, while Cronulla and the Tigers play for their points after the news.
George has continued its stunning rugby league revival with a thrilling victory over an 11-man Canberra today. The Raiders had both their props sent off as the Saints, inspired by Anthony Mundine, finished too strongly for the depleted Raiders. Initial signs were fortune would favour the Raiders as a wayward Don Ferner penalty attempt turned into an accurate crossfield kick for Noah Nandruku.
Yes, it does.
Trailing 10-4, Anthony Mundine dragged the Dragons into contention when he released Wayne Bartram. Just before the break, John Lomax's dangerous high tackle reduced the Raiders to 12 men.
He's been poleaxed. He's got to go.
And early in the second half, St George led 18-10.
Following through, Coyne, the captain, the skipper scores.
But even a player down, Canberra, through tries by Wiki and Nagus, claimed a 2-point lead.
Standing wide, Nagus gets into the corner.
But then Quentin Pongia joined his fellow prop in the dressing room.
He's off, Quentin Pongia.
Even a great team like Canberra, now shrunk to 11 men, couldn't resist the fast-finishing Saints. 21-year-old Mundine, in the kind of form that should earn him representative honours.
He's wrapped it up for the Happy Dragons.
Without champion centre Andrew Ettinghausen, Cronulla may have been beaten by the Sydney Tigers.
For Ettinghausen to go in and equal Reg Gasnier's try-scoring total.
Substitute half Wes Patton sparked the Tigers as they led 14-6 at half-time.
Oh, this little miracle player!
But the smile was quickly wiped from Wayne Pearce's face as Cronulla ran in 5 second-half tries to overrun their opposition.
He's run right around them!
The Roosters racked up a record score in their game against South Sydney. In crossing for 11 tries, the boys from Bondi inflicted their biggest ever defeat on the Rabbitohs, winning 62-0.
With injured teammate Phil Clark still recovering, the Roosters' play was just the right medicine. Winger Peter Jorgensen turned in a wonderful first half, crossing twice in what was already shaping as a lopsided contest.
This will be incredible.
Down 22-0, the Rabbitohs lost Corin Ridding just before half-time.
Oh, he's hung out a hand here. The number 10 has been sent.
There was no let-up for Souths as the opposition eyed a record score. Every time the ball was spread, it cost the Rabbitohs more than pride, and after 63 minutes, they were behind 50 points.
Gallen, then the centre, Clark.
By the time the kill was finished, the Rabbitohs were in total despair. 11 tries to 0 resulted in the club's biggest ever loss, and the faces said it all. 62-0 to the Roosters on an Anzac Day Souths will never forget. Last night, the judiciary dealt an already depleted Canberra a double blow as the Raiders try to settle for tomorrow's game against Canterbury. Strongmen Quinton Pongia and John Lomax were suspended for a total of 10 weeks after being found guilty of high tackle charges.
The criticism of your tackling style.
Well, it's just the way I tackle, I suppose.
Lomax was outed for 4 weeks. His teammates scored 6. Also, Gold Coast forward Tony Durham has time to work on his tan. He too was suspended for 4 weeks for a reckless tackle. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Streak by the Dragons.
The Red and White's revival attracted another big Cogra crowd, while would-be Bronco and former Dragon Gordon Tallis sat on the sidelines as spirited St George kept Brisbane at bay before falling for Kevin Walters' dummy. But Walters' fake pass paled when compared to Jason Donnelly's dummy act. Attempting to field Alan Langer's kick, the Saints winger committed a cardinal sin.
Donnelly's taken all day. It's a try to Darren Smith.
In the second half, Adrian Brunker's pace put the home team on the board, but Saints' outside defence began to look brittle. Sailors' try inflicted further wounds and did nothing to stem the crowd flow. Langer and Walters completing the kill.
The little kick for himself.
It's on for the Broncos. Langer to Kevin Walters.
Canterbury hasn't won at Canberra's Bruce Stadium since 1990, and last night the losing streak continued. The Raiders ran in 7 tries during their 30-point thrashing of last year's premiers. But Canberra suffered the biggest blow, Brad Clyde breaking his left leg.
He's been hurt here.
He has been hurt here.
Well, all I heard was just a snap, and heard him yell, and I just thought, oh no, here we go again.
Clyde is the second Canberra superstar sidelined for the season. Ricky Stewart already out with a serious knee injury.
We've had tough times before and we've always come through it. We'll come through this.
Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
And in round 6, the Tigers, North Sydney and Cronulla all winners. Today, Newcastle too strong for Wests at home. Auckland, Manly and the Gold Coast away winners. The Chargers pulling off the upset of the round.
The Eels kept the home crowd happy early, Dean Pay crashing over in the opening minutes. But at the break, it was the visitors 11 points ahead. By full time, Gold Coast had run in 4 tries to 2, upsetting Parramatta with a 13-point victory.
To his very best form after overpowering Wests at the Marathon Stadium today. Paul Harrigan played a real captain's knock, which should guarantee him a top spot when the countryside is named tonight. In other games, the Gold Coast upset the Eels and Auckland down the Steelers.
Andrew Johns, back from having his appendix removed, gave the Knights the early break with some accurate kicking, and it was his pass that put Brad Godden away. Newcastle led 10-0 at half-time. West hit back soon after the break, a freak try to Paul Bell.
The sideline is coming up. It came off the boot of McGuinness. He might still get it away. He does. Oh, this is something magical.
But having had a hand in the Knights' first try, Adam Muir tripped the light fantastic to cross for the second and provide some breathing space.
He's over.
Another crashing run from the second rower set up the sealer and has given the country selectors plenty to think about tonight. Nick McArdle, 7 Nightly News.
Selectors are currently sorting out their teams for next Friday's representative clash in Wollongong. Meanwhile, round 6 continues straight after the news with the match of the day between Newcastle and Wests. In other results, Manly defeated South Queensland 14-6. The Gold Coast in a boil-over against Parramatta 27-14, while Auckland 30 beat Illawarra 20.
It's been a season to forget for Illawarra, but for the first half at least, they got it right. Good old-fashioned brute strength fueled the Steelers' furnace. 3 first-half tries put them in charge, 20 points to 6 at the break.
He gets the try.
Holding that lead, though, was another matter, and the Warriors made Illawarra pay.
Stacey Jones is in.
In a devastating second half, Auckland piled on 24 points and kept the Steelers scoreless to record a 30 points to 20 win.
Tony Tatopo, strike time.
At Suncorp Stadium, one of League's most lethal partnerships hummed along nicely. Manly's Cliff Lyons found Steve Menzies to open the Sea Eagles account against South Queensland.
And Menzies is there, the try-scoring machine.
Manly won 14-6, scoring 2 tries to 1. It was the Crushers' 3rd straight loss. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
The Gold Coast has scored its biggest win of the year, defeating the highly fancied Eels by 13 points at Parramatta Stadium.
Aaron Raper and Dean Pay, two of Parramatta's big-name buys, combined for a 6-0 lead after 2 minutes. But from there, the Gold Coast punched holes in the Eels' defence and some expensive reputations. Lee Odenryan took great delight in showing his sprinting skills. The former Parramatta winger scored a 90-metre try before Jamie Goddard went over for an 18-6 lead. Smart work by skipper Dave Watson ensured the unheralded band of Chargers stayed in control, going on to win 27-14. At Shark Park, a tribute to Andrew Eddinghausen, equalling David Hatch's club record of 255 games. But the laser spectacular gave way to a dour struggle between Cronulla and Penrith. Craig Greenhill's dive from dummy half put the Sharks ahead before Paul Donaghy's runaway try 11 minutes from time secured a 10-2 win. At Parramatta Stadium, Mark O'Neill's try put the Sydney Tigers ahead of the Western Reds. Paul Sirinen barged through to extend the lead before Andrew Neve scrambled over for the Reds, too late to stop the Tigers winning 10-6. A 9-try romp for Norths in Townsville. David Fairley played a starring role, scoring twice and setting up 2 others as the Bears trampled over North Queensland to win 50-6. Sydney City set the standard after 6 rounds ahead of Brisbane, Norths and Manly. Newcastle and West play for their points after the news. In footy tap...
Another blow to Canterbury's premiership hopes, with Brisbane handing out a second-half lesson at the Belmore Sports Ground today. Sydney City maintains outright leadership on the ladder after holding on against the Gold Coast 13-10, while the Broncos beat the Bulldogs 30-8.
Only the most faithful Dogs fans braved wet weather at the new-look Belmore. What they witnessed early was the Canterbury of old as Darren Britt put the Premiers ahead. But from then on, it was backs to the wall. Langer finding a freakish 4 points on the end of his boot.
Still on for Brisbane. Langer has scored.
A long-range kick off a scrum from Kevin Walters produced the same result for Renoff. Sailor set up Walters' second-half try, then stole the ball to stage his solo.
But Sailor is home for the T-money and scores for the Broncos.
Lockyer carved through Canterbury's defence to put the match beyond the home team's reach. Brisbane proving the name of the game is football. Kicks of all types converted into points in the wet weather.
Now the ball on the toe. Willie Kahn, he scoops it up off the ground, and Willie Kahn has put this match well and truly over.
Even worse conditions at Carrara for the clash between Gold Coast and Sydney City Roosters. Just keeping track of the ball often proved difficult, but John Simon's bomb rained down perfectly for Ivan Cleary. Down 12-0, the Chargers staged a second-half fight-back, but the Roosters held on to win 13-10. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
In the first representative game of the season, Country scored a thrilling last-minute victory over City at Steelers Stadium. Country won 18-16 with Adam Muir scoring the winning try.
To fans' delight, the annual clash saw the best again back together, with the Bushies boasting 6 former rebels.
As Laurie Daly quite proudly takes the Country side out.
And there was plenty of hospitality.
Carroll, and there's a good half tackle.
Adam Muir did well to stay on the field, while E.T. showed he's still one of the quickest.
Great try-saving tackle.
The Cronulla star never stopped, and 27 minutes into the game, City hit the front.
Eddinghausen will score!
But Daly posted a good pass to Brendan Pearson, and when Andrew Johns delivered the kick, Country went to the break ahead 8-6.
Beautiful kick. Straight between...
The view for City continued to get worse. Johns also went to the sky, and Rod Wishart performed the perfect landing.
Not in this one. Oh!
Wishart has come down with it and scored!
2 tries in 10 minutes changed the game dramatically. City pounced on a tiring opponent and looked set to continue its domination of the series.
And Terry Hill!
Down 16-12, Country then geared for a great finish. With seconds remaining, the ball went through 8 sets of hands before the defence cracked. Burner pushed Muir into the gap, and City had been beaten in a thriller.
One side comes out the other. He's brought the crowd to their feet. Away goes Muir.
Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
In club rugby,
North took to home turf against the Saints. Few would have anticipated the tale about to unfold. The Bears went on a scoring spree, 3 penalties, 3 tries. This the pick of the first half bunch.
On for Bugner! Here comes the double!
After the break, Norths leading 24-0 took up where they left off. Soden the next to score.
Soden's over!
The Dragons simply failing to fire and contain the Bears' attack. Chasing a hat-trick, Butner winning the race.
I think he's made it in time.
Another try and the Bears racing to one of their biggest ever wins over the Saints, 42-0.
Exhibition gallop, really.
And action continues right after the news when Norths play St George in the match of the day. In other games, Canberra leads the Reds with 10 minutes to go. West sprang an upset against Cronulla. Manly belted the Cowboys. Illawarra beat the Crushers. And Auckland didn't help Parramatta's headaches.
Parramatta began like a team ready to slam the critics.
Blackmore out to Kerwin.
The Eels applied a mountain of pressure, but at the crucial moment it amounted to nothing.
No, he knocked it on over the line.
The Warriors withstood everything that came their way, and when Freeman was sin-bin late in the first half, Auckland didn't waste the advantage, leading 10-0 at the break.
They will not get him.
Freeman's dice with the rules and running battle with the ref finally ended with his send-off. The former Kiwi captain wasn't coming back no more. Again, one man up, the Warriors simply had to spread the ball and Parramatta was gone. 28-4 to Auckland, and another week of questions for the Eels. The Magpies' Ken McGuinness proved a real mud runner as West blew Cronulla away at Campbelltown.
Eddinghausen's got plenty of speed, but so has Ken McGuinness. Straight through, try in the corner.
Leading 14-0 at half-time, West handled the tough conditions to perfection, finishing 18-10 winners.
Lots of pass out, a Siri Lang.
In Perth, the Western Reds bounced away to an early lead against Canberra when Rodwell finished what he started.
Rodwell. To be a try to Rodwell.
But Daly kept the Raiders in touch, and when Wiki crossed, Canberra was back in the game.
Wiki is still going. Wiki is looking for the line, and Wiki scores the try.
Quinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
At Brookvale Oval, Manly made it a miserable afternoon for North Queensland.
Manly's form in the last month has been less than spectacular, but against lowly rated North Queensland, the Sea Eagles flexed their muscles. Cliff Lyons, the architect, as Manly made light of the heavy going to set up a 24-4 lead. Shane Howarth's world turned upside down running into Jim Sedaris. And it didn't get any better for the Cowboys. Danny Moore grabbed 3 of Manly's 9 tries in the 46-4 victory. Illawarra and South Queensland slogged it out in difficult conditions at Steelers Stadium. The Crushers led 12-10 after both sides crossed twice, but on the hour, Sean Timmins put the Steelers ahead 18-14 for the second win of the season. Fireworks through the rainy gloom at Penrith Stadium before tries by Craig Patch, and this juggling effort from Gary Edwards gave the Sydney Tigers a 10-8 half-time lead. Penrith replied with a Darren Brown try before the Tigers stole it. William Kennedy crossed and centre partner Greg Burke landed a penalty goal 2 minutes from time for an 18-16 win. At the football stadium, Robbie O'Davis made short work of South's defence, crossing twice in 3 minutes to give Newcastle a 12-0 lead. The Knights were tripped up by the tricks of Darren Trindle, whose clever footwork brought South to within 2 points.
Newcastle just went to sleep
before Darren Tracy scored for an unconvincing 20-14 win. Sydney City stay alone in front. Canberra and the Western Reds are still playing, while Norths and St George battle for their points after the news. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
Match at Cogra, Manly scoring just 1 try to defeat St George 6-2. Nick Kosef, the man of a match that was defence-dominated, but plenty of missed opportunities.
With State of Origin positions on the line, star-studded Manly were full of running early. A 2-point cushion via Shannon Neville.
Now he strikes it, it's on its way, and it's there.
Then extended to 6, Hill deep in the attack.
Hill, not held, and he gets it over the line.
The Sea Eagles dominated, their constant pressure forcing Saints' mistakes.
They had a hand on it.
The 32nd minute, St George clawed 2 back.
Hits the upright and bounces through.
Right on half-time, the Dragons should have hit the lead, but Mundine fumbled.
He didn't grasp the ball.
6-2 at half-time, Manly with all the possession, determined to push the envelope after the break.
No doubt about it. Forward.
St George turned around Manly's attacking ferocity in the second half, unlucky not to level again.
Adrian Frankel, see, I don't want that one.
At the other end, the Sea Eagles also missed a chance. Kosef pinned for a push in the back.
No, given the penalty.
Seconds before full time, St George hammered the line again. Coyne unfortunate.
1.5 on the clock. Coyne, he's lost it.
In the end, a scrappy, eventful win. Manly 6, St George 2. Man of the match, Nick Kosef, disappointed with his side's attack.
No, it's not. We were a bit we stopped and started tonight, you know, it wasn't very fluent.
Continues straight after the news with Brisbane and Canberra, the match of the day. In other results, the Sydney Tigers defeated West 22-16. Penrith beat the Western Reds 46-12. Newcastle thrashed the Gold Coast 42-0. And North's 22, too good for Canterbury 14.
Canterbury dominated possession for most of the first half, but North's defence stood firm. When the line was finally broken, it was more out of good luck than good play. Quick hands and even quicker feet saw the Bears hit back through Dallas, and North's led by 2 at the break.
Dallas will cross.
Against his old club, Dallas made sure North stayed in front, his strike power again proving a great investment in the 22-14 win.
The Bears through Dallas.
At Parramatta Stadium, the Magpies looked to have had too much up their sleeves for the Tigers. West crossed 3 times in the first 40 minutes, setting the scene for what appeared a lopsided contest. But the Tigers roared back with a great second half, scoring 4 tries to 0 and again dumbfounding the experts with a courageous 22-14 victory. And Penrith has won only its second game for the year, beating the visiting Western Reds. Too often the Reds coughed up possession, allowing Penrith in 7 times in the 46-12 beating. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
It was more like a cricket score at Marathon Stadium. Newcastle burying the Gold Coast 42-0.
Straight and powerful, Newcastle stunned the Chargers in a 7-try-0 Sunday afternoon out. At half-time, the result was sealed, a 26-0 lead.
Matthew Johns.
3 more tries in the run home, with Matthew Johns directing the show, and his brother Andrew making sure the Gold Coast headache was a big one. Things are a little brighter out Parramatta way after the Eels got their act together against South Queensland. Expectations have been enormous for the new-look team, and after weeks of sniping, they registered a 14-4 win, their 4th of the season. At Shark Park, Cronulla's Paul Donaghy bit off more than he could chew in South's Craig Salvatore. In a match full of feeling, Cronulla kept the Rabbitohs trialless, but bagged 2 of their own. 18-0 to the locals, with South still winless after 8 rounds. And the Cowboys got the early jump on Illawarra at Stockland Stadium. Chris Tassel steering North Queensland to an 8-6 half-time lead. But Rod Wishart snuffed out the Cowboys with 2 tries. Illawarra's first trip to Townsville bringing a 24-8 victory. To the ladder, the Roosters unbeaten on 16 points, then comes North Sydney, while Brisbane and Canberra play for their points after the news. The Sydney Tigers round out the top 8. Footy tap
just before full time.
Amid speculation on just how many Broncos will wear maroon tomorrow week, Brisbane overcame an early deficit with strength.
Hancock slams it down.
Tackling high didn't suit Laurie Daly. Steve Reniff slipping through for 12-4.
Runner, he'll score!
The Broncos centre was at his dazzling best. For Canberra, nothing was working.
Throws a chancer infield.
Brett Green linked up with Reniff and Hancock for the Broncos' 3rd try and 16-4.
Now Hancock.
But on half-time, Alan Langer was lucky to only give away a penalty after his blatant professional foul on Nandruku. He took full advantage 90 seconds into the second half. Reniff scoring his 2nd try.
The class of Langer. Walters calm. Reynolds on his way.
From that moment, an exceptional performance by Brisbane. Peter Ryan dancing around Mullins to send Darren Smith away.
Peter Ryan, will they catch him? Yes, they will. And here's Darren Smith.
Then a magical kick from Langer.
Here for them too. Langer will score himself.
The Broncos outdoing their previous best result against Canberra. Willie Kahn joining the feast.
He's over.
With the big crowd willing on a half-century, Kevin Walters gave them their wish.
Back now for Kevin Walters. And they make it look so easy.
In a bloody battle at Sydney's Campbelltown Sports Ground, Western Suburbs and Penrith met for the West Sydney hit-up. It was certainly that. The West's coming out on top in a game which had its blood, sweat, rain and punch-ups.
It seemed everybody wanted to run the ball, but when Craig Coleman got hold, he probably wished he hadn't. Steve Carter coming in for a high one.
Oh, high shot!
Tension building, it erupted minutes later.
This has erupted. 3 or 4 brawls occurring.
That was just the start of it. Blood soon flowed. Steve Waddell wearing it. Marvin Edwards later found it fashionable also. Ken McGuinness and Darren Willis combined to score the first try of the night. The ease of Willis's action stirring up the Panthers. Brian Girdler showing persistence pays.
He started it. Will he finish it? Yes, I think he may have.
Girdler giving the Panthers a 6-4 lead at half-time. Paul Langmack scored a questionable try after the break to turn the game around, but then Campbelltown Sports Ground turned into Madison Square Gardens once again.
It's on again. Now, surely something's got to happen.
Things simmered in the last 15 minutes, in which the Panthers had the chance to square things up and the Magpies the opportunity to stride away. It didn't eventuate until Ken McGuinness got hold of the ball.
Kenny McGuinness scores!
The Magpies 16-6 winners in some fiery Friday night football.
Of solidarity among the New South Wales team, but if cracks start appearing on Monday night, the Blues can turn to their most experienced campaigner. Andrew Ettinghausen has played 22 Origin games. His representative career stalled last season by his Super League ties.
It was very difficult last year watching the Blues go down 3-0 because we'd won the previous 3 series in a row, and not being out there and seeing that happen wasn't a good feeling.
Ahead of Ettinghausen, the fastest Queensland centre pairing he's ever faced, Matt Singh and the brilliant Steve Renouf.
I'm hoping that all the rest of the players in my side will give me a bit of support on the inside, and we won't be giving him much room to move, I can tell you.
The Blues declared injury-free. Dean Pay untroubled by the knee problem that earlier this week made him a doubtful starter. The team's final training session in Brisbane tomorrow afternoon.
The guys are all pumped up and ready for a big game. They realised last year, the guys who played, you know, they're so down about the 3-0 whitewash.
Well, Cronulla survived a late charge from the Gold Coast to win today's only league match at Shark Park. Origin stars Andrew Ettinghausen and Craig Greenhill were not needed. The Sharks ran in 3 tries to 2.
Cronulla was looking to make it 5 from 5 at home against the Gold Coast side, determined to erase the memories of last week's hiding at the hands of Newcastle. The match was just 7 minutes old when the Sharks crossed through Paul Donaghy.
Turns the defence around and then steps inside Odin Ryan.
Fundamental mistakes were putting enormous pressure on the Chargers, and eventually it told. The Sharks going in for try number 2 and a 14-0 half-time lead.
Bell slips the pass for Rogers, miraculous pass.
The Gold Coast charged back into proceedings after Cronulla couldn't defuse a Stuart Topper bomb.
Peachy's there, he's lost it, and Odin Ryan has scored for the Chargers.
Sharks coach John Lang looked a little worried, and rightly so. With just 7 minutes left, the Coast went in again through Brendan Hurst to cut the margin back to 4.
It comes out for Hurst and they score.
When Matt Rogers crossed late to take his tally to 14 for the game, that ensured a Sharks victory 18 points to 10. Meantime, ARL boss Ken Arthurson has called for a full report into last night's spiteful clash in which Wests beat Penrith 16-6 at Campbelltown. Several brawls erupted, and referee Mark Oaten was forced to put 2 players on report for high tackles, sin bin another 4, and send off Penrith's Fayusu Afoa for this high tackle.
Today, Illawarra has upset St George at Wollongong. The Steelers were always in control, winning by 18 points to 12. In the only other game, Souths today broke their duck with a win over the Tigers.
Always tough at home, the Steelers were desperate to make it 3 in a row, and it was Brad Heppy who capitalised on some ordinary Saints defence.
This will be play on. Heppy!
An intercept try to Damien Smith just after half-time kept the Dragons in touch, but their defence kept coming up with new ways to make mistakes, Simon making the most of this blunder. A controversial try to David Walsh stretched it to 18-12.
Well, Walsh is offside the number 10.
Scott Goulet added some respectability. Too late, though, for the struggling Saints. After a bright start, they've now lost 4 on the trot. And South Sydney has scored its first win since July 15 last year.
Field is through, darts back to the inside and goes over against the upright.
The Rabbitohs led 22-0 at half-time, running out 32-4 victors. Tyrone Smith getting a hat-trick.
Tyrone Smith doesn't need any help.
Nick McCarville, 7 Nightly News.
And in footy,
the next State of Origin match in Sydney. It's not the same in Queensland. A bit of head-scratching there, but for a few players it might be the other end that hurts. Someone will get the boot if Kevin Walters comes back, as expected.
Mission accomplished, at least for now. The smiles on the faces told the story. A relentless New South Wales side established a psychological edge over Queensland following the win. The Blues could have won by more, denied a certain try after 14 minutes.
Inside pass for Brash, it was forward.
I have no idea. It's one of those things, I think. In Origin, I seem to get denied tries all the time, so I'm used to it.
Fortunately, it didn't matter in the end. A Fittler stab kick saw the Blues rewarded for their dominance.
The kick, oh, it's a try! Eddinghausen!
The Maroons self-destructed. Their only hope was the brilliant Alan Langer.
Langer dives for the line! It's a try!
10-6 the Blues, but after 63 minutes, another Fittler stab with the left foot now, and the Maroons were out of business.
It's been claimed and given! Yes. It's a try for the Blues!
A win more comprehensive than the scoreline indicated. While Laurie Daly was his cool, classy self, his mother-to-be girlfriend wasn't.
She's fine. She had to cross the legs a couple of times last night during the game when she got a bit excited, but no, she's fine, and hopefully the baby will come sometime this week.
The Blues are now in the box seat for Game 2.
Well, it's the first thing I said to them after the game, that what I'll be looking for when they walk into camp on Monday is a side ready to come and get ready for a game of football. And if they're still celebrating when they walk in on Monday, then we're starting off on the wrong foot.
For the first time in many years, Origin in Brisbane wasn't a sellout. The Blues are hoping for big support on June 3.
It's been a lot of turmoil in the last 12 months, and hopefully everyone can put that aside and just get on with the job that it is representative season. The players enjoy being a part of it, and all we want to do is just go out there and play the best football we can. And
already the talk is of changes to the Queensland side.
I can't see a lot of changes for Game 2. Obviously the inclusion of maybe someone like Kevin Walters seems a logical choice. And the Broncos are a form side at the moment, and there's some other good players there that are in form.
The New South Wales team will be named on Monday morning.
Super League and the ARL combined forces for the State of Origin show, but the sniping hasn't stopped at club level. St George is angry and rueing the loss of Anthony Mundine to Super League club Brisbane. Mundine has headed north at season's end for 3 years and $1 million, a story which further highlights the messy remnants of that protracted conflict. A celebration of Anthony Mundine's 21st birthday and confirmation he'd leave the Dragons at the end of the season.
You know, it's a hard decision to come here, but I'm sure having the players around me and coach Wayne, now I should hopefully do better with my career.
He's the first player since the Super League war to publicly announce a change of clubs mid-year.
I just want to play good football for him, play the year out, and just try and do well.
He began his senior representative career this year with the club, and we told his management we would match any offers that he received from rival clubs.
If Super League wins its federal court appeal, which starts Thursday, Mundine will be able to carry out his new obligations to Brisbane. If the ARL wins, Mundine will then have to take them to court because of this clause in his standard ARL contract. Clause 26 is designed to prevent contracted players negotiating with rival clubs during the season.
I think Anthony perhaps hasn't performed to his best over the last couple of weeks because he's been thinking about making a decision on what he should do and what he shouldn't do as far as his future is concerned. I believe that all the negotiations should be going on in October when the football's completed, and that's a problem that the ARL are going to have to address.
The Dragons are already involved in a wrangle with Brisbane over Gordon Tallis, who also hopes to move to the Super League club.
Maybe some of their officials are using us to breach some of the anger that they have for some of their inabilities to attract and retain players.
I haven't got any problems with Shane Edwards or any of the Brisbane. I am disappointed that we are losing our top players, and I would like to think that, our club isn't going to be sort of disregarded as a competition or a strong club in the future.
We'll always be accused of a whole lot of things. That's just a part of being the Broncos.
Bennett says Mundine had always wanted to sign with Brisbane and was refused because they didn't need a 5'8". He was accepted only because he offered to play centre. But fresh rumours today have linked the current Broncos 5'8", Kevin Walters, with North Queensland.
City has equalled its best start to a season with a convincing victory over South Queensland at Suncorp Stadium. The Roosters won 38-12 and continue to lead the competition, unbeaten after 9 matches. From Andrew Walker's arrogant palm-off to Brad Fittler's smooth as silk boot, the Roosters meant serious business at Suncorp.
blessing for the Roosters.
They stripped the Crushers bare, and again Fittler ran the show. His smart pass set up the Roosters' second try. Matt Singh played the role of the link man, Darren Junee the finisher.
Great try.
The Roosters' young guns didn't get a breather, swamping the Crushers with another 2 first-half tries or a 22 points to 2 lead at the break.
And that is try 3 for the Roosters.
While the home side landed first points in the second term,
Nigel Daffy gets there.
the Sydney City victory waltz was in full swing. 3 more tries topped up a very healthy scoreboard, the 38-12 victory equalling the Roosters' best start to a season since 1931.
Tries to step, he does that around Mackay. Back for Lamb, it's a great try. Off from the top shelf, then bagged another one.
Matthew Ridge has made a successful return to Manly, helping setting up 3 tries and kicking 4 goals in his side's 24-4 win over Canterbury. The loss means the Premiers now face a near impossible task of making the top 8.
After so much off-field drama, Matthew Ridge was back in Manly colours. Mark Carroll felt the brunt of a grand final reunion.
Carroll got up.
Before Ridge's suspect pass allowed Danny Moore to open the scoring.
It's going out to the winger who will score, Danny Moore.
Carroll sized up Robert Relf
Oh,
before veteran Des Hasler made the most from a bomb.
he plummets over the line.
The big hits continued.
Oh,
Manly put the game out of reach soon after the break.
Apawate, he will score.
And while Craig Polamaunta scored on his return from a 6-week break, Manly moved closer to the penthouse and locked the Bulldogs in the cellar.
And they slam it down through Innes.
At the Wacker, Wendell Saylor bumped into Alan Langer and bounced over to score for Brisbane against Western Reds, before Brett Galia stepped inside his marker for a 12-2 lead.
And Galia will score.
Smart work by Luke Goodwin saw the Reds trim the lead to 4.
Could be a try. It's a try.
Before the Broncos wrapped up their 8th win of the season with tries by Saylor and Steve Renoff for a 22-14 victory. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
South Wales Origin selectors have given a vote of confidence to the side that won the series opener last week in Brisbane. They've just announced the same 17 players for the second match to be played in Sydney on Monday week. Brad Fittler will again lead the Blues, who will attempt to wrap up the series at the Sydney Football Stadium. And Canberra has come out of hibernation to thrash Norths, sorry about that, Ross, this afternoon at the Bruce Stadium. The Raiders were absolutely awesome, winning by 46 points to 12. In other games, Newcastle upset Auckland across the Tasman. Last night, the Eels struggled against the Cowboys.
Only 13,000 of the Raiders faithful showed up. For those who stayed away, it was their loss. Canberra took a throttle hold on this match from the kick-off. Laurie Daly masterminded the demolition. A potent Canberra back row followed his orders to the letter.
David Burner, a try.
There was no let-up for the Bears. Even Big Mel was geared up if needed. He wasn't if the forwards weren't creating havoc up the middle. Nandruku and Nagus were having a picnic out wide.
Nandruku.
Fittingly, Kennedy scored twice today, his second capping Canberra's best rate of the match. The Green Machine finishing with 8 tries.
And who's there? Another back rower.
A tighter affair at Ericsson Stadium. Newcastle always had the edge as Auckland committed some atrocious blunders in miserable conditions.
Let's go out to Beecham, and that is the try, Alexander.
Still, the Warriors tried desperately to defend their unbeaten home record, and when Kerwin crossed for the first of his 2, Auckland slipped to a 6-4 lead. It was short-lived, though. The Johns brothers were untouchable today. They helped the Knights to a 14-6 lead at the break.
Johns, yes!
And despite showing more fight than in recent weeks and holding Parramatta to 10-all at half-time, the Cowboys are still in the doldrums. The Eels kicked clear in a lopsided second half to runaway winners 26 points to 12.
And going for it, he gets it down.
Premiership with Canterbury and Gold Coast ending their losing streaks. The Premier shut out Illawarra 12-0, while the Chargers beat the Sydney Tigers 28-16.
Perfect one day, pouring the next. Gold Coast got a grip on things in slippery conditions. Shane Kenwood's bomb providing Dave Watson with the first of his 2 tries. Kenwood's kicking game created havoc for the Tigers and plenty of points for quick-thinking teammates.
And Ellis has scored yet another try for the Chargers.
If that got the locals dancing, the next Kenwood kick had the Chargers running away with the game.
For Odenrine, there's the bounce. Another Chargers try is coming up, and Odenrine will get it.
22-0. Wes Patton's pass sparked a second-half revival, the Tigers scoring twice in 3 minutes. But another kick and chase put the Chargers beyond reach, the league's so-called easy beats starting to look like superheroes.
How can you lose with him on your side?
At Belmore last night, Canterbury's faithful witnessed a dogged struggle against Illawarra. The blue and whites besieged the Steelers' line, but every attack seemed cursed at crucial moments. Halligan's long-range penalty providing the only first-half points.
I didn't want to put the hands on it.
Luck looked like deserting Terry Lamb, forced off with a knee injury, but he returned in the second half to score the game's only try.
Back for Terry Lamb, and Terry Lamb gets the try.
Damien Ford was laid low.
And there's no doubt in my mind the tackle is high.
Two late Halligan penalty goals kicked the Bulldogs clear for their second win of the season. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
Two games
of antibiotics has helped New South Wales avert a player crisis on the eve of Origin 2. Internationals Rod Wishart, Tim Brasher and Brett Mullins have all been cleared to play for tomorrow's match against Queensland.
The news was all good for the Blues today. At least their training venue was open, and the doctor had given his 3 flu victims the all clear.
Well, they're much better today, so they're over the worst of it, so by Monday they'll be 100%.
Obviously, New South Wales expects more fire from Queensland tomorrow night. The Blues forwards working behind closed doors on the punching bags, although Gould isn't talking it up.
No, we're just softening up the steaks for dinner tonight, that's all.
The Maroons' final session was an intense, rowdy affair. Paul Vaughton was delighted.
And in discussions we've had as a team, there's lots of hunger there from all sorts of people, and that's what we want.
Despite Queensland playing down the suggestions, it's certain Kevin Walters will see a lot of game time tomorrow night. Walters ran at 5'8" for much of the session, but there will be no change to the run-on side. In today's only Optus Cup match, Souths were without playmaker Craig Field for their game with Penrith, but another experienced rabbit provided early hope.
And they're over to score, Craig Salvatore.
A gallant Souths were their own worst enemies, though. Penrith 3 tries coming from opposition mistakes. The Panthers home 20 points to 12.
They are. Matthew Adams it away, and then into the corner goes Robbie Beckett.
In Perth, the Magpies captain was inspirational in his side's victory.
What a try!
In a match plagued by poor handling, Kevin McGuinness's second half solo effort was a rare highlight. His second try of the game giving West a 22-8 win, their 6th of the season.
Kevin McGuinness has gone from nowhere, will score right over the blacktop.
Pat Welch, 7 Nightly News.
Queensland. It was payback time for the Blues after last year's 3-0 drubbing by Queensland.
Queensland was fired up, but the Blues were hitting hard.
Oh, big shoulder!
It didn't faze the Maroons, going close in their next set of 6.
Sailor and Brasher.
With defence tight, New South Wales looked for a penalty goal and nearly got a try.
There's still a chance.
Johns missed another before finally getting his first.
He's got it.
The Blues stayed with the boot. O'Neill doing well to clean up.
Oh, Wishart.
From the resulting scrum, the flare-up many predicted. Steve Walters coming off worst of all.
Who's been sent to the sin bin.
It lifted the Maroons. Another penalty put them in an attacking position. Renouf making the most of the crossfield bomb.
Queensland are in!
A Kevin Walters chip kick swung things back to the Blues. E.T. went close. The Maroons penalised for a late tackle.
A penalty for being tackled without the football end.
Queensland was stretched beyond breaking. Wishart in to take the Blues to the break, up by 2.
There's the Blues try!
Both sides wanted the first try after the break. 5 minutes in, Jeff Tooby created the chance. Mullins finished it off.
It's a try!
Queensland might have hit straight back. The play called a knock-on. New South Wales headed for the other end through Eddingshausen. He ignored his support and went close himself, possibly losing the ball.
I think he's not going.
The very next play, another cross kick gave Mullins his second.
He scores his second try!
No luck with the conversion. 16-6 the Blues, and things were coming undone for Queensland. They got worse.
Oh!
Harrigan was lucky not to be seriously hurt. Craig Greenhill became the first player sent off in Origin. While he pondered the moment, his dozen teammates did well to contain a fast-finishing Blues outfit.
Menzies is held!
2 more points finished the scoring, New South Wales winning 18-6 and heading to Queensland with an unbeatable 2-0 series lead. Mark Barland for Nightline.
Yes,
what straight defeat today. In the late game, Cronulla leads Auckland deep into the second half. The Broncos lost their first game of the season last night, while the Eels made it 3 wins in a row today at the expense of the Dragons.
In a game marked by violence, sin bins and many mistakes, St George made the first clean break of the game. And really should have gone on with it, but a charge-down clearing kick was the beginning of the Dragons' woes. Anthony Mundine dropped the ball cold and allowed Parramatta a 12-8 half-time lead. Mundine made up for his pre-break blunder by setting up the try of the match for Nick Zisti.
Tries to position the man inside, he's done that.
But again, the Dragons snapped under pressure. Player of the game, Jason Smith, sealing it for Parramatta. The Eels, who started the game without stars Dimmock and Raper, lost Chris King with a broken jaw, but take the vital premiership points. With 7 Broncos backing up from Origin duties, Brisbane was ripe for the picking last night, and North Sydney had the motivation to exploit it.
He scored! Butner!
The Bears turned around their shellacking in Canberra with a consummate first-half performance to lead 14-0 at half-time.
Taylor, 10 metres to go, he'll make it!
Brisbane, with their unbeaten record threatened, lifted out of their lethargy in the second half and through a determined Alan Langer try, got to within 4 points.
Langer, step! Langer, he's over!
A scrum penalty, nearly extinct in modern league, halted the Broncos' late surge. And as Jason Taylor secured a fine North Sydney victory, Brisbane reacted bitterly. Alan Cann for a reckless high tackle and Steve Renoff for jostling referee Ward in the tunnel after the game, both reported.
Australians have stuck with the same 17 players who won the State of Origin series for Game 3 against Queensland at Suncorp Stadium next Monday. Reserve forward Jim Dermott will undergo a fitness test on Tuesday. The split round 10 continues after the news with the Manly and Canberra game. In other results, Newcastle defeated South Queensland, while Sydney City has made its best ever start to a season. Today's win over North Queensland, the Roosters 10th on the trot.
Perfect execution in the Roosters' opening onslaught, deep passes and the right angles. 3 tries in just 11 minutes, a sign of the times. Despite the 32 points to 4 half-time deficit, the Cowboys didn't unsaddle, showing plenty of spirit. But it was always Sydney City's afternoon, scoring 7 tries to 3, the 38-14 victory, making it 10 in a row. At Marathon Stadium, Andrew Johns wrong-footed South Queensland to get Newcastle moving. When the Knights clicked, they were lethal, but in the final analysis, Newcastle did just enough to win. The day spoiled by injuries to Matthew Johns, Adam Muir and Lee Jackson. Last night at Ericsson Stadium, Cronulla won a terrific match against Auckland. There were 9 tries all up, the Sharks home 28-24. The ladder in Sydney City continues to rule the roost with 20 points. 4 teams are locked on 16. Manly and Canberra play for their points straight after the news. Footy
Tries in the first 12 minutes virtually sealed the Cowboys' fate.
Jorgensen goes across.
Jorgensen starred for the Roosters with 2 tries to help keep North Queensland languishing on the bottom of the ladder.
Peter Jorgensen, he'll score in the corner.
The signs were ominous for the Crushers when Newcastle scored in the opening moments of the game.
And how easy was that for the Newcastle Knights?
But some solid Crushers defence coupled with plenty of Newcastle mistakes meant the Knights' second try was a long time coming, just before half-time. Mark Prothero gave South Queensland some hope early in the second half, before a late Newcastle try sealed it. Injuries, though, a problem for the Knights. Lee Jackson and Matthew Johns the most serious, both with ankle injuries. And the Sharks are on a high after a thrilling 28-24 defeat of the Auckland Warriors in Auckland. Backing up from Origin duty, Andrew Eddinghausen scored a double.
In the game, and there's the first try of the match.
Cronulla coach John Lang rates it the best win in his 2.5 years at the club. Nick McArdle, 7 Nightly News.
Sole second place on the league ladder with an exhilarating victory over Canberra at Brookvale today. The Raiders left their recent good form in Canberra as the Sea Eagles made a close contest on paper into one-sided reality.
Canberra hooker Steve Walters had headspace for sale, but the 20,000 crowd at Brookvale wasn't buying it as they put their combined weight behind the home team.
robbed of a legitimate try early, it took the injection of veteran Cliff Lyons for Manly to gain control midway through the first half. Lyons again combined with former All Black Craig Innes for Daniel Gardner to finish. If Gardner's first try surprised Canberra, his second stunned the Raiders. A sweeping movement in which the Sea Eagles specialise that put Manly out 22-0 at half-time. The game as good as gone for Canberra.
Sets his sights and he gets his second try.
The Raiders eventually troubled the scorer, but even then it came from a Noah Nandruku intercept. Canberra's big last-round win over Norths a distant memory, as Manly reminded us of their extraordinary depth in talent.
Away from Croker, gets the pass on, and Terry Hill.
Sydney City's unbeaten run with a strong performance at Cogra Oval. The Dragons scored 3 tries to 1 in their upset 24 points to 8 victory.
Underway.
From the kick-off, a weakened Roosters still looked cocksure, but it was the Dragons who answered first. Dean Raper smashing shell-like defence. Rickettson's hit on Thompson cost the Roosters another 2 points. And when Mundine flashed over, St George sights were set on an upset.
Inside the 10. Oh, well, you wanted to see him in action.
The Roosters stayed in touch with a much-needed try to Woods, and 6 points was the difference at the break.
Did he score for the Roosters?
Chasing their 11th straight win, the Roosters hit a red and white wall, and for the first time this season, they couldn't climb back. When Campion cleaned up the chip, St George had ended a 5-game losing streak.
Campion has scored for the Dragons.
Last night, a depleted Broncos did their best against Manly, but that wasn't good enough. Both teams had to plug holes left by players on origin duties, but Brisbane's 7 missing men was a greater disadvantage than Manly's 3.
Lyons has got support. Danny Moore.
The Sea Eagles led 18-4 at half-time, and that's how the score stayed. Matthew Ridge's boot again proving invaluable. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
The New South Wales State of Origin team is about to fly out to Brisbane. The Blues completed their final Sydney training run this morning before heading north for Monday's 3rd game against Queensland. A win will give them a series clean sweep. All players came through the session without incident, and for a change, the weather didn't disrupt them.
We had a few wet sessions during the week, but we managed to get one in before leaving Sydney, and that'll help us, I think.
Round 11 continues straight after the news when Canterbury takes on Parramatta. In other results, Sydney Tigers surprised Auckland. West drew with Souths. Canberra got home against Illawarra, and North Sydney was far too good for the Reds.
Coming off their impressive win against Brisbane, Norths found the Reds asleep in the first 10 minutes.
Straight around Fleming, Michael Buechner.
The signs for a big score were there early. Almost every time the ball was moved, the Reds were on the back foot.
The Bears are going in for try number 2 already.
The lottery of the bomb helped the Reds get on the board, but when it came to the Bears, there was nothing fluky in their runaway win.
Back inside for Buechner.
A freakish 4-pointer to Neil Pinchinelli helped Illawarra to a surprise half-time lead against Canberra. The Steelers stayed on course with first points after the break, but Canberra hit back with a late burst of tries to finish narrow 16-14 winners. At Campbelltown Sports Ground, the South-West match went right to the wire, and even then they couldn't be separated. With seconds remaining, it was 14-all. Willis could have won it for the Magpies with this goal, but the teams finished even. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
The Sydney Tigers went to Christchurch, and believe it or not, it was considered a home game. They left the Auckland side embarrassed in front of their Kiwi fans.
Most of the midweek snow cleared around Lancaster Park, and Greg Alexander missed the first premiership match on the South Island, where the Sydney Tigers went on a rampage.
Put the first points on the board.
On the back of a 20-knot southerly, Ellery Hanley and 200-game veteran Paul Sirinen provided the experience for the Tigers, who modified a Lockwood Pringle move from the 70s for Ian Heron to score.
Heron from fullback.
It came during a Tigers scoring frenzy, 4 tries in 15 minutes for a 26-6 half-time lead.
And the Tigers, they're in again.
Wes Patton produced a solo try which added insurance to the victory before 2 late Auckland tries cut the deficit to just 12 points. Last night, North Queensland produced one of the season's biggest boilovers. Although Newcastle had 3 missing on Origin duty, the Cowboys rode roughshod in their barnyard, converting a 10-point half-time lead into a worthy 26-10 victory.
Going to be taken in the air by Murphy.
In heavy conditions at Carrara, Jason Williams' 90-metre intercept try broke an 8-all deadlock midway through the second half to give Penrith a 14-8 win over the Gold Coast. And at Shark Park, Cronulla maintained its unbeaten home record with a 28-4 win over South Queensland. Manly has joined Sydney City on top of the ladder. Canterbury and Parramatta play for their points after the news.
As Canterbury are celebrating just their 3rd win of the season tonight, taking extra satisfaction from their defeat of Parramatta today. The defection of key Bulldogs to the Eels is the main reason Canterbury is struggling this year. The absence of some of them on Origin duty contributing to Parramatta's demise. Parramatta had won their last 3, but without playmakers Jim Dimmock and Jason Smith, both former Bulldogs, the Eels always looked vulnerable. Mohamed El Masri swooping on an error as Canterbury led 10-0 at half-time.
And Canterbury have a try!
2 tries in the first 5 minutes of the second half was enough for the Bulldogs. Experienced heads Daryl Halligan, Terry Lamb in his 250th game, and Simon Gillies proving the difference.
And he scores try 4 for the Bulldogs.
Canberra.
Later, but New South Wales now State of Origin League champions for 1996. The Blues whitewashed the series 3-0, but had to survive a wonderful, second half comeback from those pretty tough Maroons. Jeff Tuvey, man of the series, Steve Menzies, man of the match. New South Wales 15, Queensland 14. In a moment, post-match reaction, but first here's the highlights.
Then united compassion, a minute's silence for those killed in the Black Hawk crash.
Origin 3 is underway in front of 40.
Queensland making their intentions felt early. 14-2 to the Blues, and Adam Muir chatted for his tackle on Dale Shearer. Tim Brasher given a tougher penance for a professional foul. A Fiddler field goal giving New South Wales breathing space. Coin the springboard for a thrilling turn of events. 3 minutes later, Brett Dallas in South Wales taking the series 3-0. Steve Menzies, man of the match. Jeff Tuvey, man of the series.
Yes, and much more like a State of Origin game. Selectors will name the Australian team for the first test against New Zealand tomorrow. But now, after match post-mortems from Tony Peters at Suncorp.
Yes, Tim, what a remarkable game of football. New South Wales have completed that clean sweep with an unchanged 17-man squad. They've made history in the process, and it's highly unlikely it'll be done again.
1992, when I first took over this side, I thought we had a great young side that could be very dominant for 5 years. Last year was an interruption to that, and it was a great interruption to the game, but at the end of the day, we've won 4 out of the 5 series, and tonight 17 players, all 3 games, and they've won them all. It may be equal one day, but it'll never be better.
Yeah, it's only a small bit of history, but it's something, we're going to remember for the rest of our lives. Each and every bloke's just going to take that back home with them.
It's something that I've always wanted to do, is playing a clean sweep winning series, and we've done that tonight.
Well, it's exactly the opposite feeling here in the Queensland rooms. I can tell you now they're all devastated inside there. It was a courageous finish and very close, but there was a lot more on the line tonight. They were playing for pride and for test jerseys.
Oh, it's just major disappointment. It's just not much doing.
People have packed Marathon Stadium to see Newcastle topple St George. The Knights were never headed, winning 23-12 and scoring 3 tries to 2.
Last start, the Knights were humiliated by the Cowboys, but with their 4 Origin stars back, they quickly returned to the boil. The Dragons took some heavy hits. Noel Goldthorpe had a bad case of the wobblies.
And he's in Gagas.
And Andrew Johns' field goal and penalty put Newcastle in charge 9-0 at half-time. Quick hands and numbers out wide saw Newcastle move to 13-0. St George hit back with a soft try before Andrew Johns' solo effort sent Fatty into overdrive.
Oh, what a player, what a man, what a champion.
Down 19-6, the Dragons wouldn't give up, but in front of more than 21,000, Newcastle wrapped up the match 23-12. Last night, Norths had no right to be doing handstands after Manly cleared out for a 23-point win, thanks to the silky smooth boot of Cliff Lyons.
Oh, yeah!
The Sea Eagles led 7-6 at half-time. Lyons then waved the baton, orchestrating a try for Matthew Ridge.
Easy stuff!
Then going high for Terry Hill.
The bomb. Pressure out there for David Hall. It's another try.
North's outside defence and support play let them down, as did this tackle. 2 Bears reported on the way to a 29-6 defeat. Craig Innes crossed twice as the Sea Eagles firm as premiership favourites.
Up and away he goes.
The premiership continues after the news with the match of the day between Parramatta and Canberra. In other results, Illawarra upset Brisbane 14-6, West 42 thrashed Gold Coast 10, Auckland beat Penrith 26-16, South 24-18 winners over the Western Reds, and Canterbury stopped Sydney City 28-16.
The Roosters seemed set to make up for last week's loss against St George when Peter Clark crossed in the opening minute. The win forced Sean Garlick to keep a finger on things for Ivan Cleary, but Craig Pollamouta had more than a hand in Darren Britt's try.
Cut out pass, Darren Britt.
Stephen Hughes made the most of a quick play the ball, and when brother Glenn crossed, Canterbury led by 10 points at half-time. 7 minutes into the second half, a ball's up by the Bulldogs.
It's going to be a try to the Roosters.
Halligan made up for El Masri's mistake. Lamb's brilliant backup play keeps Canterbury's faint final hopes alive and cost the Roosters the competition lead. A quagmire in the middle of Steelers Stadium failed to stop Illawarra running the Broncos ragged. Rod Wishart's 80-metre dash bringing 4 points for Brendan Reeves. In a scoreless second half, the Steelers held on to win. The loss even more costly for Brisbane. Wendell Saylor in hospital after this clash with a suspected broken arm. At Campbelltown, Wests went on a 6-try blitz against the Gold Coast Chargers. Birthday boys Andrew Willis and Brandon Pearson celebrated in style, Willis crossing twice, Pearson scoring a hat-trick. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
Auckland broke a 4-match losing streak, defeating the Panthers by 10 points at Penrith Stadium.
It's Kearney, in fact.
Many thought the Warriors had forgotten how to win. An early try to former All Black Mark Ellis got them moving in the right direction. It was 4-2 Auckland at the break. Both sides turned it on in the second half. Sean Hoppy brilliant.
Try to the Warriors.
While the Panthers' fight back came too late. Auckland 26-16 winners, their first victory in 4 matches. South returned to Redfern Oval, but the Western Reds settled in first with 2 quick tries. Down but not out, the Rabbitohs found the spark and in a seesawing contest snuck home on what appeared to be a controversial try to win 24-18. More than 22,000 people jammed Stockland Stadium to see perennial easy beats North Queensland run straight through Cronulla.
For the drive.
Last weekend the Cowboys rolled Newcastle, and last night the Sharks felt the heat, beaten 16-10. And South Queensland has now lost 10 in a row. The Tigers won 12-2, both their tries coming against the run of play.
And is over in the corner. So
to the ladder, and Manly is the outright leader ahead of Sydney City, then North Sydney and Newcastle. Parramatta and Canberra play for their points after the news. The Western Reds are languishing at the bottom. Footy
second saw the Raiders home 16-10. The Roosters finishing with 11 men, and the controversy continued after the whistle.
It was a chilly night in the national capital, and if the weather wasn't uncomfortable enough, Brad Fittler was battling a dislocated finger. The Canberra defence soon warmed things up.
they pick him up and drive him into the ground.
Sydney City fullback Ivan Cleary produced the opening 2 points. Paul Dunn again on the receiving end. Ruben Wickie's defence devastating.
Oh, that is big.
18 minutes in, Laurie Daly weaved his magic.
Daly, he's over.
Brett Hetherington then found himself in trouble over this high shot. Quinton Pongia was sin bin for a play the ball infringement, while the Roosters' Paul Dunn followed soon after. This sickening head clash between David Boyle and David Wesley saw both players come from the field, although they did return. 2 from half-time, this mistake cost Canberra dearly. The Roosters going to the break up 8-6.
It's a kick ahead, and they look as though they're going to score.
Adding to the Raiders' worries, Jason Croker came from the field with a suspected broken arm. Straight after half-time, Wickie was at it again, the hit of the season.
Oh! Adrian Lamb! Really hit by Ruben Wickie again.
Tony Iro was involved in a head clash and left the field. Then 50 minutes in, this.
Oh, Hetherington! Another one bites the dust.
Terry Hermanson set off. but Sydney City only strengthened. A Brad Fittler pass sending Adrian Lamb through. The last pass controversial as the Roosters jump to a 12-6 lead. Jorgensen! Sydney City then lost Luke Ricketson with a knee injury. With 10 minutes remaining, Fittler was sin-binned, although referee Kelvin Jeff seemed to get the wrong man. In the final minutes, the Raiders hammered the Tricolours line for 17 tackles before Ken Nagas snared the match winner.
It's away with Nagas! Nagas! He scores!
Sensations continued after full-time when Roosters coach Phil Gould and his players left the ground, failing to give post-match interviews. And referee Kelvin Jeffs is considering lodging a report after being abused by Sydney City officials in the tunnel.
The League Premiership continues after the news with the match of the day between Brisbane and Parramatta. Penrith's clash with South Queensland is midway through the first half. Earlier, Canterbury defeated Newcastle 24-14. The Western Reds upset Manly 11-8, while St George and Cronulla played a 20-all draw.
The Dragons fired early, Mark Bell scoring in the opening 10 minutes. Dean Raper is no relation to Saints legend John Raper, but the former Cronulla junior is making a name for himself. Centre Paul Donaghy hit back for Cronulla, and before a crowd of 13,000, this derby also proved a hit amongst players. Bell getting neighbourly with Andrew Pearce. Paul Green crawled through Saints defences just before half-time, and the Sharks went 10 ahead when Matt Rogers scored early in the second. Captain Mark Coyne started the home team's revival, and Saints' comeback received another boost when Nathan Long was sin-binned. Bell pouncing on Goldthorpe's bomb to bring about the deadlock.
Out there, Branca coming through. That's a try.
Manly went west and the Reds' defence went wayward against Cliff Lyons. Steve Menzies scoring his 11th try for the season.
And Menzies scores!
A glut of ball in the second half, and the long legs of Barry John Mather helped the home team tie it up. And when O'Neill converted, an upset appeared in the making. O'Neill's field goal sealing the surprise win against the competition leaders. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
In an upset at Belmore, Canterbury has defeated Newcastle, scoring 4 tries to 3.
Canterbury was chasing a 4th straight win, but Newcastle opened with a try sweeping to the flanks. Undaunted, Terry Lamb and John Timu combined for Darryl Halligan in the Bulldogs' reply. Before Stephen Hughes cut through flimsy defence, Canterbury ahead 12-4. The Bulldogs hunted their rivals with added conviction.
On a big hit too by Cheetah.
And any chance of a Newcastle comeback was made tougher once the Bulldogs converted their own attacking errors into tries.
He's still going to score the try.
Darren Tracy trimmed the lead to 18-8 when he kept the Bulldog defenders second-guessing. Before Jason Hetherington added insurance for the Premiers, the Gloss taken off with skipper Simon Gillies' last-minute knee ligament injury. Last night, Auckland led by 6 points at half-time against Wests, before Greg Alexander and Stacey Jones played vital roles to give the Warriors a clear-cut 32-16 win.
Hoppy and leads. Sean Hoppy will get there first.
Sydney Tigers confirmed a place in the top 8 after holding on to beat North Queensland 18-16.
He finds Doreen. Does Doreen get there? Yes, he does.
South jumped to a 12-0 lead against Gold Coast, then had to withstand a late finish from the Chargers. Jeff Orford put into touch in the last seconds by David Penner for the Rabbitohs' desperate 18-16 win. Manly still leads the competition. Brisbane and Parramatta play for their points after the news. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
It changed hands before the Broncos finally prevailed. Alan Langer's 200th first-grade game opened up looking like a benefit for the great little halfback as the Broncos galloped to a 10-2 lead.
Alfie puts it under the bar.
However, Parramatta weren't prepared to allow that to continue. 2 quick tries and suddenly the Eels were in front.
I think it's more than a chance.
The combination of veteran Chris Johns and the brilliant Steve Renouf led to Brisbane grabbing a 2-point break at half-time.
The support. Renouf scores.
When Brad Thorne brushed aside Dean Pay to stroll over, it could have been the beginning of the end for Parramatta.
And over.
But again, the Eels wriggled out of trouble. Tries by David Woods and Scott Mann, and the visitors led by 4.
Beaten by the bounce and Scott Mann.
But staring down the barrel of 4 straight defeats, the Broncos found a bit extra. Darren Lockyer, then Renouf again, in a great return to form, saving Brisbane from embarrassment. With Newcastle contributing to their own demise, Canterbury made it 4 wins in a row. The Knights' Jamie Ainscough making 2 errors in Steve Reardon's crucial try. After a terrible start to the season, the defending premiers could yet make the top 8.
Still going to score the try!
In this game early to suggest what was about to happen. As expected, the Sea Eagles started strongly and had little trouble scoring the first try.
And Menzies scores! But put it down to Cliffy Lyons.
But then the Reds fired up, handling the atrocious conditions much better. And with Scott Wilson involved twice in the movement, the Reds were in.
Barry John made the levels the scores.
Julian O'Neill had no trouble converting to put the Reds in front. And then, with less than 3 minutes to play, O'Neill finished them off.
The shot at field goal, it looks good. I think it's there, the referee says yes.
Manly ran the ball in the closing seconds, but they couldn't break through, and the Western Reds had done the unthinkable.
It's all over. The siren's gone. The siren's gone. It's the upset of the year.
It's the Reds' first win since round 3. It's only the Sea Eagles' second loss of the season. At Cogra, Mark Bell scored with 5 minutes to play to give St George a 20-all draw with Cronulla. But given the scoreline, how important was this earlier decision to allow Mark Coyne to run around closer to the posts and touch down, giving the kicker a much easier conversion attempt. The ref appeared to be ready to award the try where Coyne first downed the ball. 10 tries scored in the Parramatta-Brisbane game, the Eels coming from behind at half-time to take the lead.
He scores! David Wood scores!
The try came after the Eels won a scrum against the feed. Aaron Raper getting away with a little handiwork. But the Broncos on the rebound after 3 straight losses stormed back to win 30-24. And Canterbury has continued its mid-season resurgence with a 24-14 win over the Newcastle Knights. The one downer for Canterbury, skipper Simon Gillies was carried off soon after this play with suspected ligament damage to his knee. The medics will check him tomorrow.
So this is how the league ladder looks after round 13. Despite today's shock, Manly are still 2 clear of the Roosters and North. Western and the Tigers holding on to the last 2 spots in the 8. The Eels, Warriors and unbelievably Canberra still within touch. Today's draw with Cronulla didn't help St George's hopes. Illawarra and Penrith and Canterbury's top 8 aspirations still there, but starting to slim. The season already over for the rest. Cup has begun with the Canberra Raiders snaring a last-minute victory over the Knights. In tonight's other games, Auckland disposed of South Sydney, while the Reds drew with the Gold Coast at the Wacker. But it was Fijian winger Noah Nandruku who lifted the Raiders to victory in front of the Newcastle crowd.
So the Raiders had almost made the perfect start after just 3 minutes.
Up they go, down they come. It's a try, I think. He said no try.
Replay showing the men in the middle got it right. Andrew Johns put first points on the board after 14, while Quinton Pongia may find himself in trouble over this alleged headbutt. 22 minutes in, Andrew Johns put Robbie O'Davis through. Brett Grogan's first touch leading to a 4-pointer.
Grogan will score for Newcastle.
Seconds before half-time, the Raiders' Ben Kennedy put a dent in the Knights' armour, Newcastle leading 10-6. 6 minutes after the break, the Green Machine put the foot down, a Canberra classic locking it up 10-all.
He gets it down!
Newcastle had the perfect response 10 minutes later. Good hands seeing Keith Beecham over in the corner. Canberra coach Tim Sheens had that worried look. He felt a little better when Noah Nadruku somehow managed to get over the line. The Raiders up by 2.
That is incredible stuff!
Desperate Knights attacks in the dying minutes, not enough. Canberra holding on 16-14. Earlier, Souths made its first trip across the Tasman to meet Auckland. The home side producing first points through Gene Namu. The Rabbitohs having no luck with injuries. First David Penner going off, and late inclusion Jason Sinclair suffering what appeared to be a serious knee injury. Come the 33rd minute, playmaker Craig Field showed why he's the target of massive offers for next season.
Craig Field getting close, there's the first try of the match.
But right on half-time, the Warriors replied, John Kerwin steering Auckland to an 8-6 lead. Souths withstood constant barrages from the Warriors early in the second half until the 57th minute when Siduru put his side up 14-6.
There it is, another one for the Warriors.
but Souths failed to give in, scoring in the 64th minute before the Warriors ran in 2 tries in the final 7 for a 24-10 victory. Well, over at the Wacker, a try in the dying minutes to the Western Reds has seen them escape with a 14-all draw against Gold Coast. Julian O'Neill's conversion from the sideline could have given the home side victory.
To Cronulla, 16 points to 6. Penrith, well, they thrashed North Queensland, and a 12-man North Sydney outfit held on against Parramatta.
Cronulla took just 3 minutes to get on the board through the boot of Matt Rogers before Danny Lee was reported for this tackle on Bulldogs half Craig Polamatta. Daryl Halligan squaring things up. 24 minutes in, a Mitch Healy pass was swooped on by Halligan. The Dogs winger racing 60 metres to put the visitors up 6-2. The Sharks replied just 4 minutes later. Adam Dykes crossing in the corner, and Mitch Healy produced a beauty from the sideline to put the Sharks ahead 8-6. The Bulldogs were digging their own hole with fundamental mistakes. The Sharks up 8-6 at the break. Early in the second 40, referee Eddie Ward was a bit quick to give a penalty with the Sharks on the attack. But with 19 to go, the home side all but wrapped up the game with a soft try to Andrew Pearce. Late in the match, Cronulla's Nathan Long was also reported for this tackle. The Sharks home 16-6, all but ending the Dogs' finals chances. While in front of 25,000 North Queensland fans, after leading 6-0 at half-time, Penrith has thumped the Cowboys 21-0.
Girdler got away from Lumens, he has Thompson inside, gets it to the fullback and he'll race away for the try.
Earlier today, North Sydney survived some early Parramatta pressure to register first points through Brett Dallas.
And away the match turns so quickly.
Eel skipper Jared McCracken's power coming into play for the Eels' first 4-pointer before the Bears' Gary Larson returned the compliment. McCracken closed the gap to 2 with his second try, then 4 from half-time. Danny Williams was sent off for this hit on Rod Mabon. Scores 12-all at the break. Soon after, Chris Lawler came close to breaking the deadlock. In the 54th minute, Troy Campbell was given a 10-minute spill in the sin bin. Jason Taylor putting the Bears up 14-12. Then with 8 to go, a great Ben Eichen cut-out pass for David Hall.
He throws a long ball into the arms there, into the corner.
Superboot Jason Taylor producing a classic sideline conversion. North's up by 8. Despite a late Eels try to Jim Dimmick, 12 Bears holding on for a 20-18 victory.
Queensland edged out West 24-22. St George 30 defeated the Sydney Tigers 19, and Manly beat Illawarra 16-8.
Beaten by the lowly Western Reds last weekend, Manly found the door open 17 minutes in at Steelers Stadium.
Soft try.
Jeff Tooby followed up with a smart one-man show as the Sea Eagles grabbed a 12-0 lead. Down but not out, Illawarra hit back with a sizzling team effort.
Back inside. Carriage. Can he go all the way? Rodwell.
But Manly kept in front, 16-8 winners.
He's going to score.
And the referee in the thick of it. The Sydney Tigers had 2 tries on the board in quick time against St George and enjoyed a 14-0 lead. But the Dragons turned up the heat and stormed back. Mike Doreen was sent off, leaving the Tigers a man down for most of the second half. Mark Bell's second of 3 tries put the Dragons 18-16 in front. And while the Tigers grabbed the lead again, St George put it beyond doubt with a barnstorming finish to win 30-19. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
After losing 10 straight, South Queensland has now won 2 in a row.
South Queensland established early control against Wests, scoring twice for a 10-0 lead.
Carmichael scores for the Crushers.
Fully aware of the tough run into the finals, the Magpies couldn't afford to lose and replied strongly to lead 12-10.
Just over, he's got that one down.
This seesawing clash featured many enterprising moments, including Craig Weston's try to put the Crushers on top. Damien Kennedy bustled through defenders and stepped neatly away from others to put the Magpies ahead before the Crushers crossed for 2 more tries for a 24-18 lead. Darren Willis set up a nervous finish when he scored on the bell. Andrew Leeds' conversion for a draw drifted wide. Last night, Cronulla moved into the top 8 with a 16-6 win over Canterbury. After Adam Dykes' try, the Sharks extended the lead when Andrew Pearce broke the Bulldog front line and stepped clear to score. More than 25,000 fans flocked to Stockland Stadium for North Queensland's clash with Penrith. Ryan Girdler's inside ball to Robbie Beckett opened the scoring.
That'll be a try.
Girdler figured strongly for Bob Thompson's try after the break before another by Phil Adamson clinched a 21-0 win.
Gets it to the fullback and he'll race away for the try.
Manly on top of the ladder by 2. Sydney City and Brisbane play for their points tomorrow night. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
Roosters snatched a last-minute victory to put them back on track for a top 4 finish.
This is it, folks! Over the top!
The Angels warmed up the crowd at the Sydney Football Stadium before the main act got off to a flying start. Darren Lockyer scoring for the Broncos just 3 minutes into the game.
Lockyer's on his way! Lockyer scores!
The Roosters struck back 9 minutes later, winger Peter Jorgensen slipping through for the equaliser.
He'll get there, Willie! Yes! Jorgensen!
Some fancy inside play by the Broncos dazzled the Roosters, sending Robbie Ross over the line.
He's away! Put the points down!
The Broncos 6 points ahead at half-time. Brisbane poured on the pressure in the second half, kept out by Sydney City's desperate defence.
He's over and held up, bangs it down!
Then Cleary added 2 more points for the Roosters with a kick from a growing list of penalties.
ARL, Cleary gets the goal.
With just 5 minutes remaining, a brilliant chip by Juni saw him beat the Brisbane defence to level the scores.
That is a super try!
A fatal mistake by Andrew G gave Sydney City a kick in front right on full time, handing them the match.
The penalty right in front.
The ruling capped off a controversial 8-0 penalty count to the Roosters, adding to Brisbane's woes. Langer is on report for a high tackle. Chris Castellari, The Nightline.
Top 4 spot on the league ladder with an upset win over Canberra today at Bruce Stadium. A 3-try blitz in 5 minutes helped the Sharks win 24-16, their first victory in the national capital.
As an injured Ricky Stewart continues to warm the sidelines, the man he should have been marking created early havoc. Paul Green's dummy leaving Canberra cold. The Raiders have never lost to Cronulla at home, and David Boyle's try appeared to spark a revival. Referee Paul McBlain ruling the final pass touched in flight. But the comeback stalled when David Peachey's touch earned 4 points.
Oh, this will be a try to the Sharks, no! Have they got there? McBlain is going to award it to Peachey.
Canberra couldn't cope with Cronulla's kicking game. Mitch Healy's high bomb providing Andrew Eddinghausen's first try. Matt Rogers' chip always on the cards for ET's second.
On the chase. Oh, this is sensational from the Sharks.
Trailing 24-6 at half-time, Tim Sheen's loud instructions were carried out to the letter by Ben Kennedy.
All taken out of the play.
Boyle created enough confusion in Cronulla's defence to dash away for his second, but Canberra couldn't wipe out the deficit, and despite Ruben Wickie's consolation, the Sharks held on for their first win at Bruce Stadium. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
Andrew Johns has grabbed a slice of rugby league history with a world record 32 points in last night's victory over a Fijian side in Newcastle. Australia won 84-14, scoring 15 tries in front of almost 20,000 fans.
Fiji won the song and dance. But as expected, Australia the test match. The Kangaroos simply hit the attack button and held it down. Of the 15 tries scored, Brett Dallas landed 4 of them, the last classy link in a chain of handsome Aussie hands. As Australia sprinted towards a 50-2 half-time lead, Fiji had missed 38 tackles. The score enough to put a smile on Andrew Johns' face. But not even Newcastle's favourite son could earn the cheers that rocked Marathon Stadium early in the second half.
The Fijians have scored! God bless them!
Russ is saying we can win this.
Maybe not, but his Fijians did score a second try.
Oh, they've got a
as the Australians started to lose count. Menzies crossed in the final minute, allowing Andrew Johns to score a world record 32 points, made up of 2 tries and 12 goals.
Andrew Johns breaks the record.
Australia 84, Fiji 14. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
Brisbane playing Newcastle. 6 games today. Manly thrashed Parramatta. The Western Reds upset Illawarra by a point. St George too strong for Penrith. Wests defeated North Queensland. Souths walloped South Queensland. And Sydney City got home in a thriller against Norths.
A full house at North Sydney Oval for the clash between second and third on the competition table. Darren Junee brought his try-scoring form across the harbour before Ben Icon's length of the field reply bridged the gap.
But Icon tripped and gets there.
12 all. Craig Wilson's freakish 40-metre field goal clipped the right side of the crossbar to give Norths a 1-point lead, but the Roosters replied with 3 tries, the pace of Peter Jorgensen and Matt Singh providing Junee with a hat-trick.
Junee, that's try number 3 for Darren Junee.
The Bears hit back through tries to Greg Florimo and Icon, but fell 5 points short. Another bumper crowd at Brookvale, but traditional rivalry between Manly and Parramatta was reduced to a cakewalk as the Sea Eagles queued up to score 8 tries against the Eels' paper-thin defence.
He is certainly going to score for the Sea Eagles, Danny Moore.
With Parramatta depleted by injuries, Manly's total approached cricket score proportions, centre Craig Innes bagging a hat-trick. In Wollongong, Mark Geyer sold the Steelers a dummy to put the Western Reds ahead, but in his second game back from suspension, the Reds captain bought into a blue that almost sparked an all-in brawl. 5 minutes from full-time, Scott Wilson dived over to give the Reds a 1-point win. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
St George still has a sniff of making the finals after swamping Penrith by 26 points at Cogra.
It was a messy afternoon for the Panthers and a busy one for the Dragons. Lance Thompson got things rolling. He scored the first of 6 St George tries. Anthony Mundine dummied and stepped his way through for 2 of his own. St George 36-10 winners. North Queensland set sail for an upset over Western Suburbs and led 16-4 midway through the first half. The Magpies evened it up at 16 all and in a seesawing contest got over the Cowboys 40-32. South Queensland prop Jeff Wittenberg was sent off in the 19th minute against South Sydney. The Rabbitohs' Redfern scoreboard hadn't had so much work in years as the home side walloped the Crushers 9 tries to 3. Final score, South 48, South Queensland 16. Last night, an arm wrestle at Belmore. The Tigers enjoyed a 20-14 lead, but with 8 minutes to go, Canterbury scooted up the line to close to within 2 points. Daryl Halligan missed the conversion, which would have levelled the match. The Tigers held on for a 20-18 win. The Gold Coast Chargers led Auckland at half-time, but had the wind knocked out of them at the start of the second term. 2 tries in 4 minutes set up the Warriors' 28-14 victory. Manly is on top of the ladder, 2 points clear of Sydney City. Then comes Norths and Cronulla, with Brisbane and Newcastle playing for their points tomorrow night. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
Those last 3 tries, leaving Newcastle still yet to win a match in Brisbane.
A chilly Brisbane night forcing some into extreme measures to keep warm. The temperature also having an effect on the Broncos, the locals unable to get warmed up. For the Knights, unlike their fans, it was just like any other winter night in the Hunter.
Butterfield gets it out the back for Marquette. Marquette gets it in for Muir. Muir, he's over and puts it down.
Success for Newcastle, but not nearly enough after enjoying a 2-1 advantage in possession. Injuries beginning to hurt the Knights almost as much as the referee's whistle.
Is working with the sideline, and here is Marquette. Marquette has come down on the line, but it's a double movement.
With casualties mounting, Brisbane made the most of Newcastle's problems, the home side capitalising on their first real chance.
Hancock gets it over the line.
A penalty on half-time, giving the Broncos an 8-6 advantage. After the break, the Knights' personnel woes finally showing a brighter side. Reserve forward Billy Peden forced to the wing, enjoying the rewards.
And Billy Peden has scored a try he'll never forget.
A more conventional approach from the rest of the Knights' big men. 4 minutes later, Newcastle seemingly set to break their Brisbane hoodoo.
Down for Jackson, away for Marquette.
The Broncos trailing 18-8. Alan Langer in a good chase, restoring hope.
20 metre line, or not quite. Then it came off, and it's with Kevin Walters. They must score. Robbie Ross will plant it over the line.
His opposite number, Andrew Johns, answering. The Knights lead again, 7.
Slides it across, and it's over.
Langer continuing to lift his side, engineering another 4-pointer.
There'll be a try here, yes!
And a week later, Andrew G going from villain to hero. Langer involved once again.
G held it up. Langer got it away. They dive in. It's a try to Brisbane.
An injury to Steve Renouf, an unwanted prize, but the Broncos gallop into the top four 24-19. Newcastle leaving Brisbane winless after 5 attempts.
Well, Sydney City, like Brad Fittler, won't be cited.
Then the top 8 won't be big enough for both Canberra and the Sydney Tigers. Last night, this season's bolters showed early promise against an injury and suspension-riddled Raiders.
Canberra are back in the end goal, and again they're trapped there.
But keeping the Raiders pinned down is another matter altogether. With Tim Brasher stranded on the wing, Canberra headed for the air.
First test back here for Balmain, and up they go, down they come. The Raiders have got it. I think it's a try. It'll be given. It is a try for Steve Collins, the debutant.
Collins was just as effective when he kept his feet firmly on the ground.
He's through and away. Look at Kennedy. Kennedy's coming across. There he comes now. Collins cut down 22 metres out.
From the ensuing plays, Steve Stone called the referee's bluff.
Who loses the ball, I fancy. The referee looking at the in-goal judge. He's nodding his approval, and he's given a try to Steve Stone.
It was inevitable such cruel luck would turn the tide in Canberra's favour. With the Tigers' defence falling apart, Brett Mullins came into his own.
And Mullins offend and then gets it away, and Burnham scores for Canberra.
3 tries in 11 minutes pushed the Raiders to an 18-0 lead, but the blitz was far from over.
Here's Nagus now. Nagus with a good run. Nandruku combines. Then it's turned inside. 15 gets it away. Stone. Nagus is there. Nagus pulled down 2 metres out. Now Nandruku looks around for Daly. Daly is with it again. He's menacing them. Balmain come out of the line. Did they touch it? Referee said no. Ricky gets it to Collins, and the youngster goes in, gets his second try.
By now, Canberra was scoring at almost a point a minute. Its 5th try coming in just over half an hour of play.
Burnham did well, a juggle, and then Mullins absolutely canters over.
The Raiders' lead was now 28-0, but that didn't prevent them playing right into the Tigers' hands.
Oh, intercepted! You hold the phone blocker, and I'll come back to you. But Gary Edwards is going in to score for the Tigers.
Down 28-6, the Tigers started the second half with renewed urgency.
They obviously have to be the team that scores first in the second half. The pass is forward.
But as Mullins limped off with a knee injury, Canberra's front row continued its run of outs with officialdom. Luke DeVico placed on report for alleged use of the elbow.
DeVico. Touch judge in.
From there, the second half developed into a litany of half chances, neither team able to convert.
Oh, Timmy Brasher, beautiful stuff, and one of the big men was there to support him.
After having what appeared to be a legitimate try taken away, the Tigers' luck changed.
That pass looked forward, but Doreen is on his way, and they get the try. It was denied of them 60 seconds ago, but now they get the try.
But it was way too little too late. Canberra scoreless in the second half, but still easy winners 28-10. A place in the top 8, now just a point away.
The League Premiership, the battle for the top 8 remains wide open. In today's matches, Canterbury edged out Penrith, Gold Coast thumped South Queensland, Parramatta too good for Illawarra, and St George defeated Wests.
Saints ran on minus Anthony Mundine, a late withdrawal due to injury. Wests were forced to do without Steve Georgalis for 10 minutes, his absence allowing David Barnhill to give Saints a 10-2 lead. When Colin Ward charged straight up the middle, Saints seemed home, but Wests hit back with the try of the match.
Willis under the post, the Magpies.
Willis went from hero to villain when he became the Magpies' second sin binning, and this time the overlap put Saints beyond reach.
Now that is the ball game.
Penrith grabbed an early lead over Canterbury. The Panthers' Jason Williams delighted to score against his old club, but Stephen Hughes' sleight of hand caught Rod Silver's eye, and the fullback support play proved golden when he backed up Terry Lamb. Brute strength from John Cartwright kept Penrith in front, but with the Dogs down by 4 points, John Timu managed to hang on to a last-ditch pass from Daryl Halligan, the winger's conversion breaking the deadlock. Things got a little heated between South Queensland and the Gold Coast.
Now a punch-up right in front of the referee. The referee's nearly involved in that one.
But the Crushers' defence was left cold as the Chargers scored a club record 9 tries, speedster Lee Odenryan bagging a double.
And what's more, bring it right round behind the black dot.
Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
At Parramatta Stadium, the Eels were impressive as they defeated the troubled Illawarra side.
5 losses in the last 6 games, and the leak this morning of a confidential report suggesting the sacking of coach Alan McMahon wasn't Illawarra's ideal preparation for Parramatta. Running against the wind, Jim Dimmock and David Woods played starring roles for the Eels, who blew out to a 28-0 half-time lead. The Eels crossed for 6 tries, the Steelers scoring 3 when all the damage had been done. Last night, Brisbane leapfrogged Cronulla into 4th on the ladder and snapped the Sharks' 11-match home streak.
Renoff has scored!
After Steve Renoff's opening try, the Sharks replied with tries from David Peachey and Matt Rogers and led 12-11 until the last 2 minutes when Alan Langer shuffled it wide and Renoff backed himself to score.
It goes to Renoff, he'll score!
A ground-riddled crowd in Townsville as North Queensland skipped away to an 18-0 lead against Souths. But the Rabbitohs resurrected some old-fashioned spirit and completed a remarkable revival for a 22-20 win with Corin Ridding's try 2 minutes from time.
It is a try!
With their own brand of wizardry, the Western Reds answered the call against top 8 hopefuls Auckland. Halfback Matthew Rodwell with a hat-trick of tries in a 32-12 win that derailed the Kiwis' 4-match winning run.
He's got the hat-trick!
St George, Canberra and Parramatta now closer to the 8, the summit meeting between Manly and Sydney City tomorrow night. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
Just one match.
Start for the clash of the competition's top 2 teams. On field, Mark Carroll with some sparks of his own.
Oh, Carroll!
7 minutes in and a penalty against Brad Fittler, Manly up 2-0.
Oh, the flags are up.
David Manson kept busy with 2 high tackles within a space of 5 minutes, Cliff Lyons the first, the second involving Roosters Dunn and Wood. Creative play by Fittler and the beginning of a Roosters raid on the Sea Eagle shores. Defence the difference, solid tackles continuously keeping the Roosters out. Then Manly's turn to move in. The ball through several sets of hands with Danny Moore finishing off.
Danny Moore gets it over!
While Manly looked like taking a very comfortable 10-0 lead to the break, the Roosters sparkled. Jorgensen's 65-metre run turning the tide, Fittler's grubber kick setting the play, Matt Singh winning the race.
Hey, he's going to get it! He does!
Second half and the 37,000-plus spectators didn't have to wait long for more action. Terry Hill in for Manly's second try.
Running right around them!
A battered Ridge converting Daniel Gartner's try and racking up some history of his own.
That takes him past 1,000 career points, Matthew Ridge.
10 minutes from the bell, Mark Carroll grabbed the loose ball, a streaker then running the length of the field as Ridge prepared to convert. Less than 5 minutes remaining, Gartner putting Ridge through for his first try.
And there it is!
Ridge scoring 18 points of Manly's 34 to 6-point win.
Win by Manly, slogging through the wet to beat Newcastle. The Sea Eagles won 28-12 at Brookvale, scoring 4 tries to 2.
Andrew John surprised everyone with his crop of red. Manly's Jack Elsgood brushed by him on his way to a 6-0 lead.
That beats 2 and scores.
Elsgood saved well down low and held on tight up high before taking over Terry Hill's early work to send Steve Menzies away.
Classic rugby league try from the
Hill dismissed Adam Muir's tackle to complete a 55-metre try for 20-0 that lanced the Knights. Matthew Johns crossed twice, but Newcastle still winless in 6 visits to Brookvale. Last night, Brisbane put the Sydney Tigers to the sword. Willie Kahn cut through for the first of 6 tries.
Kahn's over, first try of the game.
A terrific run down the sideline by lock-cum winger Tony Carroll had the Tigers unable to tie him down, and Kevin Walters reaped the benefits.
Oh, what a performance by Carroll!
Once Steve Renoff brushed off Tim Brasher to score his 15th try of the season, the Broncos had command of the game, going on to win 26-6. A minor upset at Carrara, where North Queensland ended a 4-match losing streak against Gold Coast. The Cowboys scored 3 tries to 2, winning 24-14. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
Top 8 spot for the first time this season, but the victory over Penrith came at a price, with rookie forward Ben Kennedy suffering a suspected broken arm. Checking all the results, Sydney City defeated Illawarra, Canberra too good for Penrith, Parramatta over the Western Reds, Auckland home against South Queensland, and West beat Canterbury.
Desperate to stay in top 8 contention, Wests haven't won at Belmore since 1982, and the drought seems set to continue when caught out by Canterbury's oldest dog. Lamb's chip snapped up by Silver. Stephen Hughes put Canterbury in front 12-8, and things went from bad to worse for Wests when their trainer was marched for spending too much time on the field. The look from Tom Rodonicus relayed the right message, received by Brandon Pearson and Paul Smith.
Smith goes across.
16 all. Both teams bungled kicks to break the deadlock, but no one could stop Pearson.
They've gone to the right-hand side of the field. Pearson scores. The Magpies. They're going to get home here at Belmore.
Canberra's horror season of injuries continued against Penrith. Rookie second rower Ben Kennedy ruled out for the year with a broken arm. The Raiders rallied to claim a spot in the top 8 for the first time this season. Captain Laurie Daly featuring in 4 tries. Another mud bath at Steelers Stadium, but Sydney City's Andrew Walker showed Illawarra's defence a clean pair of heels. The Roosters led 20-0 at half-time, surviving the Steelers' second-half comeback to win by 16 points. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
Parramatta ended the Western Reds' recent run with an 18-6 win at Parramatta Stadium.
Unbeaten in 4 matches, Western Reds provided early stubborn resistance. Parramatta would have pencilled this a must-win game against the lowly placed Westerners, but it took 39 minutes before Scott Mahon scooted clear for the first try. The Reds trimmed the deficit to 2 points after Robbie Kearns supplied Scott Wilson's route to a try. But the Eels stay in touch with the top 8 after tries by Stuart Kelly and Chris Lawler sewed up an 18-6 win. Auckland was out to build up steam under sunny skies at Ericsson Stadium. Stacey Jones hugged the line in the build-up for the first try against South Queensland.
Coming at him.
Dennis Betts was a round-the-corner special for Anthony Swan's armchair ride to 6-0.
Anthony Swan is there.
Richie Blackmore defied 3 defenders to extend the lead to 10 before the Crushers crossed twice in the Warriors' unconvincing 16-12 win.
They do finish with a flourish.
A late call-up for Nick Zisti paid handsome dividends for the St George winger.
Easy try, Zisti in the corner.
He scored 4 tries in the 32-12 win over Souths on the Soggy Football Stadium to keep the Dragons in the thick of top 8 contention. Manly maintains a 4-point gap from Sydney City. Norths and Cronulla battle for their points tomorrow night. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
Time siren, Cronulla's Mitch Healy fired a field goal, equalising the 15-all with the Bears, who are now in 4th position, 2 points ahead of the Sharks, who are in 5th position.
In the hunt for outright 3rd position, the Bears set the pace at North Sydney Oval, but sloppy defence allowed the Sharks through for first points, Dean Treaster going in low.
And the Sharks are over.
The Bears hit back 8 minutes later.
A beautiful ball for Fairley.
Sharks prop Danny Lee was put on report for this high tackle, a penalty putting the Bears 2 points ahead. David Fairley carved a passage for his second try soon after.
Fairley's over! Slam dunk!
Cronulla seemed lost. A penalty late in the half, their only hope. The Bears up 14-8. Jason Taylor made it 15-8 with a field goal early in the second. After that, the Bears had several chances to clinch the match.
He's ruled a double movement.
But out of nowhere, the Sharks pulled off a try that sent shivers through the North Sydney crowd.
Back inside for Nicow. He's going to score, Nicow. The Sharks are down, but they're not out.
Down by 1 point after the conversion, the Sharks fired from the field twice, but to no avail. Then, with just 3 seconds remaining, Mitch Healy sealed the game at 15-all.
Healy's kick high, and the referee says yes!
Matthew Watson, National 9 News.
18 has kicked off with a thriller. The Sydney City Roosters and Parramatta Eels playing out a 20-all draw. The Eels staging a second-half attack. Chris Lawler unable to clinch what would have been a sensational winning field goal in the dying seconds.
Nothing between the two sides to start with. It was as if both teams were of equal worth. The Eels' defence working overtime. The Roosters, though, with first points. Tempers flared with neither side able to cross. Terry Hermanson got a look but seemed unsure. Chris Lawler, however, had no doubts about his chances.
The Eels are going to score! Lawler gets the try!
Only minutes later and the Roosters landed. Andrew Walker untouchable.
Walker's on his way! Walker puts it over the line!
A caution for this. The Eels determined not to give anything away. Sydney City up 10-6 at the half. After the break, Maybon, Mann and Muchmore saw to it that the Eels were back on even ground again. Maybon, with momentum, had the Eels looking like winners.
And momentum carried him over the line.
But even with an 8-point buffer, Dean Pay wasn't happy. With him in the bin, the Roosters saw some gaps, eventually the white line.
And it goes to Walker! Walker scores!
The Roosters in reach. Soon enough, the game was level again. Peter Jorgensen flying high and wide. Both sides had the chance to break the 20-all deadlock, but if any kick was going to decide the game, it was going to be this one.
Set for it! Lawler takes the shot! It's high! It's long enough!
A 49-metre kick that was worth points itself just landed short. The Roosters and Eels walking away with a point each.
Has put the Magpies back into the top 8. Meanwhile, it's half-time in the Auckland-North Queensland game and the Warriors lead 34-0. In the match of the day, West scored 4 tries to 2, winning 24 points to 16.
West opened the scoring, but a mistake 10 metres out gave the Raiders a chance they rarely miss. A set scrum move fell into place and the scene was set for a tight first half.
The pass to Nandruku and scores.
At 8-all and just before the break, Daly went for the field goal while Mesher went on report. The hit left Daly dazed and his team 2 points in front. Desperate to stay in touch, the Magpies were relentless and tries to Pearson and a runaway Asiri Lang again had West back in control.
West and West beat Canberra while St George thrashed the Gold Coast, but it was the Bears doing the celebrating.
With Ellery Handley back, the Tigers were desperate for a win to keep in touch with the top 8 against the Bears outfit, which had drawn its last 2 matches. Jason Taylor got noughts on the board after 5 before a Taylor pass set up the opening try for David Hall.
Pass, cut out pass, Aiken steps off the right foot.
2 minutes later, the Bears were in a game. Billy Moore creating the opportunity, Chris Caruana doing the rest, leaving Tim Brasher behind in the process.
Brasher misses him, Caruana goes across.
The Tigers were committing football suicide, the Bears punishing the mistakes, Brett Dallas superbly scooping up a Taylor pass. 7 from half-time, the Tigers went to the air, Matt Sears letting it bounce. The home side finally crossing through Mark O'Neill, a great flick pass from Gary Edwards. The Bears 16-6 at the break.
Edwards, no. They're down, the Tigers are over.
Any thoughts of a Tigers second half revival were dashed in the 49th minute when Sears went over. 8 minutes later, Dallas made it try number 2.
And Brad Dallas, he gets it.
The only thing not firing for the Bears, the boot of Taylor. A rare off night, kicking just 3 from 7. Ben Ikin's new haircut as sharp as the North's attack, which ran in 6 tries to 1 in the 30-6 victory.
I don't think they'll catch Ben Ikin. There's no way they'll catch Ben Ikin.
Across the Tasman, Auckland steamrolled an ordinary North Queensland outfit. The Cowboys' pair of Lock and Buttigieg could be in hot water after being reported over this tackle. The visitors' efforts at times embarrassing. Auckland even winning a scrum against the feed to go to the break, leading 34-0.
And Jones gets it out to Blake.
3 minutes after half-time, North Queensland finally got on the board via Jason Death, giving coach Graham Lowe something to smile about. It was his only joy, Namu with a personal tally of 28 points, leading Auckland to its biggest ever victory, a 52-6 hammering of the Cowboys.
And Namu's going to score after the full-time siren, and Namu picks up a trifecta.
Well, Newcastle fell in a heap today against the out-of-form Illawarra at Marathon Stadium. In other games, Brisbane thrashed Penrith 50-20. Canterbury easily over Souths 28-4. The Western Reds tipped out South Queensland 18-16. But in the weekend's biggest upset, the Knights have been pushed out of the top 8, losing to the Steelers 34-22.
What should have been easy was made look difficult as the Knights' Jamie Ainscough scored the first try of the day.
Ainscough will score in the corner.
But from there, Newcastle was knocked senseless. The Steelers' Paul McGregor set up 2 first-half tries, and Illawarra led 14-4 at the break.
And Reed scores under the dot here.
The unwanted Ainscough got a treble for the Knights, but so did Wishart for Illawarra. What was the upset of the round, the Steelers were always in control, with the 34-22 win leaving a big dent in the Knights' finals hopes. In the first 10 minutes, Brisbane bombed a try against Penrith, but then made amends when Hancock finished off a backline raid.
He goes for the corner.
But the Panthers were proving tough opposition, and it took some Langer brilliance for Brisbane to go to the break narrow leaders.
Better than anybody.
The arm wrestle didn't continue. Darren Smith also scored 3 tries in a Bronco blitz. In all, Brisbane crossed 9 times in the 50-20 romp. And the Western Reds continue to have a good season, not so the Crushers. Despite the home ground advantage, they were beaten 18-16. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
A lopsided win by Canterbury at the football stadium, where the Premier scored 5 tries against Souths.
While both sides are well out of contention for the top 8, Canterbury reminded fans of last year's glory. Stand-in hooker Brett Clements was one keen bulldog, making several clean breaks as the side showed plenty of cohesion. John Timu found a gap and set up Rod Silver for a saloon ride to a 16-0 lead. A Canterbury canter, 28-0 at half-time, but South rallied after that, producing several scoring chances, but only centre Phil Howlett crossed. After figuring in consecutive drawn matches, Norths freewheeled its way to 16-0 against the Sydney Tigers.
Caruana goes across.
Veteran Ellery Hanley threw a right punch at Billy Moore, which drew a penalty, while the clash of the number 14s Brent Pomery and Mark O'Neill drew wonder.
Pomery!
Jason Taylor's telling passes engineered 3 tries as the Bears blunted the Tigers' top 8 charge 30-6.
Sears goes over that.
St George overturned a half-time 10-6 deficit against Gold Coast to win at Carrara. Adrian Brunker crossed twice in the Dragons' 22-10 win. A confidence booster for Auckland at home against North Queensland.
Gene Namu gets a double.
Gene Namu bagged 3 tries and kicked 8 goals as the Warriors trampled through the Cowboys to win 52-6.
Namu's going to score after the full-time siren.
The scramble for the top 8 positions continue, with Cronulla hosting Manly tomorrow night. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
This was Shark Park today, as the ground recovered from a giant rugby league hangover. Last night, it was pandemonium on the same turf. Cronulla Sutherland have defeated Manly by 2 points. And later, everyone was singing the praise.
12-10 victory over Manly.
Everything remained peachy at Shark Park today, with last night's man of the match still supporting a winner's grin.
David Peachy!
In a game where defence dominated, it was always going to take something special to swing the result. And early in the second half, Manly hit back.
Carroll going for the line, he's over!
But then came what many considered the turning point. After gathering the ball near his own line, Peachy and his teammates tore back into Manly territory, and 4 tackles later, Dykes was over the line.
I love open running. I mean, when you see them gaps, it's just unreal.
Manly didn't surrender, and after Ridge scored a doubtful try, only 2 points separated the sides.
He's dropped it.
He's lost it. Late in the game, the Sea Eagles looked certain to score again, but then came another match-turner.
What a tackle by Mitch Healy!
Healy's tackle saved the game and delivered Manly only their 3rd loss for the season.
He was my man, and if he had scored, it would have been my fault. So luckily enough, I came up with a tackle.
Cronulla beat Manly at its own game. The Sea Eagles' defence has been their cornerstone this season, and the Sharks turned copycat.
If somebody's doing something extremely well, I think it's worthwhile having a look at what they're doing.
Manly didn't lose any fans, but Cronulla gained a few. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Season may finish early. The rejuvenated Saints ran in 6 tries to 1 in a dominant performance.
In the race for the final, St George had a head start thanks to a well-placed kick from Noel Goldthorpe. Mark Bell crossing the line.
Bell goes in to score.
Another Goldthorpe kick also paid dividends.
He puts a stabbing, grubbing kick through and stacks on the mill and given a try.
And not long afterwards, Goldthorpe again had the ball on a string, the Dragons clinching their third try.
And there's the kick again and another try.
Bad handling errors meant Auckland's scoring chances went begging, but Saints made no such mistakes. Jeff Hardy offloading to Nathan Brown.
And Brown scores for St George.
Goldthorpe's drop goal added insult to injury, St George leading 23 points to 0 at the break.
The hand goes up, there's a further point.
The Dragons were still firing in the second half, Anthony Mundine finishing off some great team play.
Gets a running forward, then back, and Goldthorpe is there, and Mundine will score!
Minutes later, Mundine put in a brilliant individual effort.
They'll have to hurry, they're not going to get him! Mundine!
It wasn't till the 76th minute that Auckland finally bothered the scorer, but all too little and much too late.
And Goodenville scores!
Raymond Dale for Nightline.
6-6, showing the Magpies a devastating brand of football.
Brisbane posed the first of West's high hurdles in the run to the finals. Alan Langer's legwork gave the Broncos the early lead before West drew level when Andrew Leeds hunted down an Andrew Willis infield kick.
Will they get there? They have!
Peter Ryan put Damien Kennedy out of action, while Kevin Walters did the spade work and Shane Webke the finishing touches for a 12-6 lead. Willie Kahn showed commendable cool and Robbie Ross extraordinary confidence under in-goal pressure as Brisbane repelled West kicking game. Kevin Walters' smart reaction put the Broncos in the comfort zone when Darren Smith went on a lonely gallop to the line.
Darren Smith will sprint 70 metres.
Shortly after half-time, Andrew G's long ball found Smith, who exposed flimsy defence for a 24-6 lead. Ryan maintained an appetite to soften the Magpies, while his Bronco teammates devoured their rivals in a 6-try romp.
He'll get a chance to use it again. Oh, good night, the Magpies. Brisbane.
1,000 turned up for the Battle of the Cellar Dwellers. After Chris McKenna's try for South Queensland, Marshall Miller gave the locals some joy with 2 tries in North Queensland's dour 11-6 win. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
He killed off the Sydney Tigers' slim hopes of a final 8 spot at Brookvale Oval today. In other results, Canberra thrashed Souths 40-10. Norths also big winners over Penrith 44-10. Canterbury 26 down Gold Coast 16. Manly defeated the Tigers 18-0, while Illawarra pulled off the upset of the round, beating Cronulla 21-14.
Illawarra might be a troubled club, but on the field the Steelers are starting to head in the right direction, and Cronulla, like Newcastle last week, felt the heat. Both sides enjoyed the lead, but the crunch came 8 minutes from full time when Illawarra's Sean Thomas broke a 14-all deadlock. Steelers prop Craig Smith sealed the unlikely 21-14 victory with a last-minute try. It wasn't vintage Manly, but when the Sea Eagles did manage to click, the Sydney Tigers were outnumbered. A similar pattern in the home side's second try, Manly in front 12-0 at half-time.
Hill back on the inside. Terry Hill.
While Manly's defence was rock solid, overall the premiership favourites didn't play to the form guide,
Another chance.
doing just enough to win the fight. Menzies topped up the scoreboard right on full time for an 18-0 victory. Laurie Daly was at the controls of the Canberra machine against South Sydney. The Raiders scored 7 tries on their Sunday afternoon stroll. Canberra 40-10 winners, controversial South halfback Craig Field stretched it off with a suspected knee injury. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
At North Sydney Oval, the Bears had a picnic, scoring 8 tries against Penrith.
If North needed a top standard training run, Penrith provided it for a while. The Bears mixed the ad hoc exchanges with their planned moves to make this a one-act affair, rattling up 44 unanswered points. The Panthers had a catalogue of missed chances to cross for tries in one corner, capped off by this embarrassing slip. Matt Sears' try off Nigel Roy's good work in a length of the field move, a highlight of the 44-10 win. Canterbury's clash with Gold Coast had both sides playing for pride and new contracts.
Good ball to Britain. Britain to Timu. Timu's close and he'll score. And
the Bulldogs led 8-4 at half-time before they added 3 more tries. The Chargers narrowed the gap to 10 points with 2 late replies.
Goddard is close to the line and will score under the sticks.
Last night, Sydney City just about sewed up a top 4 spot. Brad Fittler engineered Andrew Walker's try for a 10-0 lead against the Western Reds.
I'm sure they won't catch him.
Rooster newcomer Shane Riggin impressed at lock. Reds' Rodney Howe showed how hard he can hit.
Oh, big hit by Rodney Howe.
While Fittler at 5/8 with the kick, catch and score wrapped up the Roosters' 22-10 win. Sydney Tigers lose touch with the top 8. Parramatta and Newcastle battle to hang in tomorrow night. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
Night was a must-win game. The Knights kicked off proceedings with a penalty goal via Andrew Johns. Come the 8th minute, the Jason Smith pass was doubtful. Chris Lawler superb.
That's off the feet. That's a try.
After 16, another great Smith pass leading to a Rod Mayborn 4-pointer. The Eels 10-2.
Uses Mayborn. The Eels. They're in again.
Newcastle came close through Adam Muir, but the Mayborn tackle a try-saver. In the 23rd minute, Brad Grogan brushing aside Lawler.
Oh, Grogan beat Lawler.
Andrew Johns producing a classic sideline conversion. Brother Matt then put Fletcher in, but the touch judge ruled it forward. Right on half-time, there was no problem with this classic set play. Newcastle going to the break up 14-10.
Infield, Beecham did well, positioned himself beautifully.
Smith didn't look good as he left the field concussed. Adam Muir soon followed. Referee Paul McBlain not happy with Muir's choice of words. Lawler adding another penalty goal. Eels down by 2. Both sides were reduced to 12 men when Dean Pay was sin-bin for the 2nd week in a row. The Knights out to 16-12. Robbie O'Davis was superb at the back for the visitors, but his efforts not enough. A super pass from Justin Morgan. Shane Russell squaring it up 16 all.
The winger will score, yes!
With 6 minutes remaining, Keith Beecham was penalised. Lawler adding another 2, giving the Eels an 18-16 lead.
The Parramatta fans love it.
Parramatta victors by 2. The Knights' finals chances now on very shaky ground.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we just don't seem to be getting any rewards for the effort that we've been putting in. But it'll come. We just got to soldier on.
The fact it was a really do or die game, but I think the most disappointing is that we played well and plenty of spirit and improved in the areas we wanted to improve on, but just making the same mistakes.
We had a lot of people wounded out there. We had people we had to tell them, no, you've got to stay on, and they just put their hands up and kept going.
15-point lead. The Canterbury Bulldogs taking full advantage of the breeze in the second half to edge the Kiwis out.
A cold and rain-swept night in Auckland led to a hot-headed move by Canterbury that gave the Kiwis early points.
High and handsome.
The Bulldogs looked unsettled, and a series of missed tackles and a Kiwi bomb 12 minutes into the game saw Richard Blackmore claim the ball. Canterbury looked in big trouble when Tia Rapati crossed for try number 2.
Puts it over the line and claims a try.
The Bulldogs bit back 5 minutes from half-time to make it 14-6.
And Hughes.
8 minutes into the second half, the Dogs' comeback continued. Rod Silver breaking the Warriors' line.
But Rod's run away from them.
Capitalising on a series of Warriors' mistakes, Craig Pollamouta put Canterbury ahead in the 54th minute.
Is over the line and it is a try.
Then 1 minute from full time, Dennis Betts gave the Warriors a chance to draw.
Got it away for Dennis Betts, and Betts scores for Auckland.
But Gene Namu missed the conversion, Canterbury running out winners 20 points to 18. Chris Castellari for Nightline.
While Canberra proved too strong for the Chargers, but it was a spirited Souths which tested the Broncos.
The players almost outnumbered the spectators in a match where everyone expected Brisbane to go rabbit hunting. But this wasn't a classic Broncos effort with fundamental mistakes. But in typical Brisbane fashion, 2 tries in 4 minutes saw them leading 12-0.
Eric Walters goes across.
18 in, a great pass from Craig Salvatore saw the Rabbitohs on the board.
Keep this over.
Even the usually flimsy Souths defence had some sting. While Rabbit skipper Salvatore was everywhere, Brisbane led 12-6 at the break. Just 1 minute after, the Broncos stretched the lead to 10.
It's going to be a try. Robbie Ross.
A blow for the Rabbitohs when Paul Miller was stretchered off. While players had trouble holding their footing, Willie Kahn a victim as Jason Bell cut the margin to 4.
Willie Kahn slipped over.
Steve Renoff, with the help of a South's mistake, finally securing his 100th first-grade try as Brisbane moved to 20-12 before a Salvatore chip kick saw Souths close within 2.
It works. They're going to score under the post.
A less than impressive Brisbane holding on 20-18.
Everyone's disappointed. We're disappointed at half-time. It didn't change in the second half. So, like I said, we'll go back and do a bit of work.
We come within 2 points of them. They're a great side, and they were probably a little bit overawed by the massive crowd here, mate.
Earlier today, Cronulla jumped to a 10-0 half-time lead against Parramatta. For 2 Jason Smith tries in the space of 5 minutes, put the Eels in front.
Smith goes for his second and scores.
Cronulla's Matt Rogers, who picked up 18 points for the game, made it 20-12 before Chris Lawler got the Eels back in it. Smith almost snatched the game for the visitors, but a late try to Cronulla's David Peachy, sealing a 26-18 victory, possibly Parramatta's finals fate.
And in tonight's other game, which was played in Perth, the Western Reds have had no trouble with North Queensland. The Reds running out winners 30-4. Matt Fuller crossing for a couple of tries.
Chasing a clean sweep of their fellow expansion teams, the Reds look to the sky for their early chances.
It's loose, it's dived on. Who's got it? The referee has said it's not gone.
North Queensland suffering similar handling problems.
Where is it? It's gone loose. It stacks on the mill.
Scott Wilson almost caught the Cowboys' defence napping.
Centres the ball back in field. It bounces in the Ngalia and then bounces back towards the Western Reds. And he hasn't got the ball back into the field of play.
And he continued to torment the Cowboys' defence.
Wilson will go close. Matty Fuller's in.
North Queensland shaky under the high ball, the Reds exploiting the weakness.
They're coming through quickly, plenty of pressure here for Howard. He's lost it, I reckon that's a try.
The locals going to the break, leading 12-0.
It as sweet as a nut, straight over the black dot.
But worse was to come for the Cowboys. Matt Fuller grabbing a double.
Matty Fuller is in for try number 2.
And Wilson setting up another.
Back on the inside, it's towed ahead, and Rodney Howard picks it up and scores a try.
At 24-0, the humiliation continued.
It's a try!
Trailing 30-0, North Queensland grabbed a consolation try.
Good as well, and almost going for a line. Taylor will score.
But the Reds far too strong, taming the Cowboys 30-4.
To the season beating premiership favourites Manly today. In other round 20 results, Newcastle also surprised winners. The Tigers got up to beat Illawarra. St George downed the Crushers, but the shock of the day, Penrith's 18-14 win over the Sea Eagles.
After losing to Cronulla and then playing poorly against the Tigers, Manly was looking for something more positive, but it didn't happen. The Panthers found themselves ahead 12-6 at the break, and although Manly had the better second half, Penrith refused to buckle. The Sea Eagles' path into the finals has looked anything but solid, and Penrith's 4-point win has given hope to a few more teams. At Newcastle Stadium, the Knights began like a team with a point to prove, and it was a strong-running Mark Glanville that caused the Roosters no end of trouble.
Bad defence by the Roosters.
Both packs of forwards were on the charge.
The referee, David.
But when the Roosters' defence dozed off, Robbie O'Davis put the Knights ahead 16-0.
O'Davis is straight through and over.
The Roosters rallied late, but desperate defence denied them 3 tries in 5 minutes. 28-12 win has kept Newcastle's faint finals hopes alive.
Matthew Johns.
Illawarra's Paul McGregor made sure the Steelers got the early advantage, but in a tight first half, a high-flying Tim Brasher helped the Tigers to a 2-point lead at the break. After 2 wins on the trot, Illawarra's run came to an end. The Tigers finished strongly for a deserved 16-14 victory, and their number 5, Tim Patterson, hasn't stopped dancing. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
The Crusher show today, their problems aren't just off the field. On it, they continue to struggle.
South Queensland's players are yet to be paid this season, and the Crushers coughed up a free try for St George's Adrian Branca. The home team sinking further into debt when Noel Goldthorpe's kick provided Troy Stone with a 4-point bonus.
Norton, it comes loose for Stone.
Craig Teevan's been the Crushers' best this year, but a knee injury may have ended his season. Hot heads earned Paul Tideman and Jim Lenihan 10 minutes to cool off. Down to 12 a team, Jason Wendt reduced the deficit to 8 points, but Nathan Brown caught the Crushers napping, Saints scoring their 7th win in a row. Last night, a dreadlock Dean Amos replaced Craig Field as South's halfback for the clash against Brisbane, but a clean-shaven Kerrod Walters scored first points.
Then some fancy passing.
When twin brother Kevin crossed 4 minutes later, a Broncos try show beckoned, but Craig Salvatore threw out the script and a perfect pass to Danny O'Keefe. 12-4. Phil Howlett's failure to ground the ball gave Robbie Ross the simplest of touchdowns, but a good bounce for Jason Bell brought a change in luck. It took Steve Renoff's 100th first-grade try to get Brisbane out of jail. South's shot at the upset of the season only beaten by the clock. Canberra's Laurie Daly may face the judiciary for this tackle on the Gold Coast John McKelleher. David Boyle scored twice as the Raiders strengthened their finals claims with a 14-point win. At the Wacker, the Western Reds' second-half onslaught destroyed the North Queensland Cowboys. Leading 12-0 at half-time, the Reds ran in 3 tries in 6 minutes to post their biggest ever win.
It's a try!
Manly remain on top of the table despite today's shock loss to Penrith. Norths and Wests play for their points tomorrow night. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
It was almost unbelievable.
Now Willis takes the shot. He's given the point to Andrew Willis.
The moment that lifted Wests back inside the top 8. North Jason Taylor, a contrasting figure among Magpies, celebrating the Andrew Willis field goal that split a 22-all score just 42 seconds from time.
Well, actually, I was going to put a bomb up, and they said, what do I do? And so I just had to go, and she went over. He said to me, I'm going to have a crack at it. I said, well, have a crack then. He's had a crack, and I've looked at him, and I've looked at the ball, it's going like this. I'm going, it's gone over, no way. It's the first time I've ever kicked a field goal, so in any situation, that's about it. I've never kicked a field goal in my life, I don't think. Perfect record. Oh, 1 from 1. In 45, I'll take it. I won't kick another one. I think the only problem is probably in 20 years' time, we'll be telling everyone to kick it from 70 yards out.
Once again, Monday night produced a thriller. The 6th time a match decided by less than 6 points. Each time North tried to wrestle clear through their speedy backs, West clawed back.
It's a try!
Paul Langmack had a blinder. The veteran lock embodied the Magpie spirit, and his follow-me leadership principle laid on 3 tries to put Wests ahead 22-20.
You've got to carry this Campbelltown spirit to Brookvale. No, we've got to carry the Tom Rodonica spirit to Brookvale.
Charles Christian, National 9 News.
Aspirations are all but over following today's shock loss to the Sydney Tigers. In the late starting game at Marathon Stadium, Newcastle leads the Western Reds, while the Eels can start thinking about next year.
Simple weight of possession helped Parramatta score first, with Russell on the end of a timely Jason Smith pass.
Well, with all the ball, it had to be.
But Brasher ignited a fight back, and within 15 minutes, the Tigers led 6-4.
Brasher is there!
From that, the Tigers' star was spotted. McCracken kept him in sight throughout the game, but Brasher still managed to give the Eels the slip, and Parramatta trailed by 6 at the break.
It's a double for Tim Brasher.
The gap was widened shortly after half-time. Gillette cut them to pieces, and Hanley wiped away the woeful defence.
Away from Smith! Hanley will score, yes!
Parramatta's reluctance to tackle was becoming embarrassing, and as Pay left the field with a suspected broken wrist, the Eels' season had come to a painful end. A sleepy Newcastle was caught by surprise as the Reds' Paul Evans got his team off to a great start.
That was just too easy. Well, that was too lazy, that's what that was.
But on their home ground, the Knights switched on, and with their season also on the line, Newcastle was soon back in the game.
And this has brought the Newcastle Knights back proud to its feet.
Canberra has cemented a place in the top 8, while Auckland's season is over after last night's 30-6 win by the Raiders. While victory was sweet, Canberra's battle with injuries continued. It's feared prop John Lomax may have broken his hand, although early X-rays have been inconclusive.
A little bit of trouble.
Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
but easy evening, the Reds quickly changed that. The visitors crossing for the opening try after just 6 minutes through Paul Evans. Just 2 minutes later, Dale Fritz brushed off some poor Newcastle defence. Former knight Matthew Rodwell putting the visitors out to 12-0.
That's the second try for the Western Reds.
Newcastle responded with 2 4-pointers in the space of 3 minutes, cutting the margin back to 2. A Julian O'Neill penalty goal after 28 minutes pushed the Reds to 14-10 before Newcastle copped a double blow. Setter Jamie Ainscoe appears to have suffered a severe knee injury, while fullback Robbie O'Davis also left the field. The Reds up by 4 at half-time, but just 3 minutes after the break, the Knights squared things up through winger Darren Albert.
Can he go into the corner? Yes, he does.
Newcastle hit the lead for the first time in the 51st minute when Albert picked up his second, the Knights 20-14.
Albert, can he go into the corner again? Yes, he does.
Andrew John seemed happy with proceedings. 2 penalty goals from the Knights half, pushing the score out to 24-14 before Evans picked up his second for the Reds late in the game.
The ball inside and he'll score.
The Knights home 24-20 and move into the top 8 for now.
Everyone saw what Canterbury done last year. They went in the semis with momentum and they were very hard to knock off and they ended up winning it, so hopefully we can do that.
While earlier this afternoon, Parramatta and the Sydney Tigers were playing for their finals lives. The Eels welcoming Peter Johnston and Jared McCracken back to the starting lineup. Ellery Handley was back in action for the Tigers. Parra dominated the opening exchanges. A Jason Smith pass for Shane Russell after 6.
He floats the pass.
The Tigers had to wait 10 minutes for their first touch of the footy. When they got hold of it, they made the most of it through Tim Brasher.
Well, the Parramatta side, they left the door open.
Smith was having his problems, and so were his teammates when Brasher scored his second. The Tigers up 10-4 at the break. Come the 48th minute, Michael Gillette found a yawning gap in the Eels' defence, Handley finishing off.
Away from Kelly, away from Smith, Handley will score, yes!
4 minutes later, once again the Parra defence went missing, the Tigers 22-4. The Eels did produce a comeback, with classy lock Jim Dimmick putting Chris Lawler through, Justin Morgan going over after 61.
For Morgan, and Morgan has scored.
Then a Dimmick kick for Scott Barnes saw the margin back to 10.
It's on here for Martin, he scores!
But the Tigers put the game away and have kept their finals chances alive with a 26-14 victory.
Patterson is going to win it for the Tigers!
This loss and Newcastle's win has wiped out the Eels' finals aspirations, while Tigers coach Wayne Pearce is hungry for a playoff spot. But first his side has to knock off Sydney City next weekend.
Yeah, tough game. Hopefully we can, the results go our way and we beat them and we can sneak in the semis. It'd be nice.
Just 1 round remaining before the final 8 is decided. In today's league action, North thrashed Souths. Brisbane too good for the Gold Coast. North Queensland upset St George. Canterbury beat South Queensland. Illawarra down Penrith, while Manly dented West's finals hopes.
Celebrating 50 years of competition, Manly and West pulled on their old jumpers, and it was the Magpies who produced the first vintage play. Manly resorted to the modern game as Leeds made a rare mistake for Hopewadi to score. In a finals-like atmosphere, the traditional rivals didn't disappoint. Neither did Manly's backup play for a 20-6 half-time lead. The premiership favourites had looked shaky in their last 3 games. That was all turned around at Brookvale. Manly ran in 5 tries to 2 in what was an impressive return to form. A patched-up Cowboys outfit looked anything but easy beats as they raced to a 16-0 lead against premiership hopeful St George. Replacement Willie Gibson crossed twice as the locals were left stunned by the early onslaught. A Dragons fightback saw the home side hit the lead in the second half, but in a major upset, the Cowboys recorded only their 6th win for the season. And despite beating Manly last week, Penrith was no match for Illawarra this week. The Panthers' Gordon Falcons sent off for this hit. Illawarra winners 42 points to 2. Quinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
At North Sydney Oval, the Bears overcame a slow start to win easily against Souths.
The old North Sydney might have found this bit of misfortune common, but it didn't matter against Souths, who stayed in touch until half-time when Jason Taylor crossed for a 16-4 lead. Billy Moore and Greg Florimo set up Ben Eichen for a trouble-free run to the line before the Bears finished with 8 tries in the 46-4 win. 6 games without a win and suffering serious financial problems, South Queensland gave Canterbury all sorts of bother at Belmore. Nigel Gaffey featured prominently to put the Crushers ahead 16-10, but the Bulldogs pinched it late with a try by Shane Martin, followed by a Terry Lamb field goal. Gold Coast caused quite a stir in front of 25,000 fans at ANZ Stadium, leading 10-6 at half-time against Brisbane.
It's Curry, and that is a great try to the Chargers.
The Broncos turned it all around after the break. Steve Renouf added 2 to make it 19 for the season, while Wendell Saylor grabbed 2 in his return match after a broken arm.
Canberra's over again, the final 20.
And Newcastle stays in the hunt for a top 8 spot after a hard-fought 4-point win over the Western Reds last night. The congestion for playoff positions remains, and tomorrow night it's Sydney City hosting Cronulla. Charles Christian, National 9 News.
Losers to Cronulla last night. They've now lost both props, Jason Lowry and Terry Hermanson, with broken arms.
Almost 24 hours later, Lowry and Hermanson still couldn't believe the coincidence. Both props, same arm, same game.
What about yours? How'd you do yours?
I think it was at Johnny Lang's boy, I think Martin Lang or something. Tried to take him and just sort of scum up.
Lowry broke his arm during the early exchanges of the 18-10 loss to Cronulla, and Hermanson also feared the worst as he rested after the game.
We paid a big price for the night's performance.
Already struggling with a long injury list, this latest setback has blown out the Roosters' premiership odds. Veteran Paul Dunn is an option for one front row position. The other will come from the lower grades.
I woke up this morning and find Terry's done his arm as well, and I don't know where we're going to go, where the team's going to go from there.
The Roosters' other problem is an informed Tigers this weekend. If Sydney City lose and Cronulla beat Newcastle, the Sharks will move into 4th spot on the table, relegating the Roosters to sudden death football.
Whatever happens, we'll get something out of next week's game.
While the Roosters are in turmoil, Cronulla escaped the game injury-free. The Sharks weren't banking on a Final Four berth, but the odds have now swung in their favour.
We've got a very good side and we want to test it to the limit.
Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Australia coming a little clearer with 3 games played tonight. Riddled with injury, Parramatta's playoff hopes came to an end as Penrith came from 16-6 down. St George helped cement their spot with a win over the Reds, while Brisbane extinguished any hope Auckland had. It was a drubbing at Ericsson Stadium.
It was Auckland's last roll of the dice, and they started accordingly. But it wasn't long before the brilliance of Alan Langer took command. Hungry for 6 rather than 2 points, Kevin Walters didn't let him down.
And the Broncos will get a try.
Bringing them around the park. Langer constantly bamboozled the Warriors' defence. This time, Kerrod Walters was in support.
Then back for Kerrod Walters. The Walters boys score off Langer passes.
Unable to crack the Broncos' line, Auckland were forced into a fruitless aerial raid. Mark Horrow copped 10 in the bin in a desperate bid to halt Langer. Willie Kahn capitalised. It was 16-0 at the break.
Great play the ball. Kahn gets over the try line.
A late hit by former All Black John Kirwan ended Steve Renouf's game early as a red-hot Brisbane literally blew the Warriors off the park.
Doesn't get there.
Auckland finally got on the scoreboard just after half-time through Hoppy.
Here comes the Warriors try. It's Hoppy.
But Brisbane were in a menacing mood. Their star-studded backline at its devastating best.
Saylor for the corner and scores.
It was a case of by how far as rookie Tony Carroll jagged the first of 2 tries.
Tony Carroll, that's what they wanted.
Brisbane's passing game was immaculate. They feasted with 8 separate try scorers, winning 38-6 in easily their best performance of the season, to stamp themselves as hot favourites to win a 3rd premiership.
Tony Carroll scores his 2nd.
Auckland's loss saw Parramatta travel to a wet Penrith football stadium with a mathematical chance of making the finals. Gary Freeman was hoping it wasn't his last game. It definitely was the Panthers' swan song for skipper John Cartwright. He began the night perfectly, setting up Jody Gall.
Cartwright inside. Here's a try.
Then a remarkable string of injuries for the Eels. First Jason Smith went off before Justin Morgan put Matthew Spence in for Para's first try. Jim Dimmick's impact was then felt. This pass seeing Simon Scanlon go 35 metres. Parramatta was in front.
Goes for the line. He's over.
Morgan then joined Smith on the sideline before another Dimmick pass led to an Eels 4-pointer.
And Davey will make the corner.
The injuries continued, Dimmick leaving the field, and right on half-time, both Spence and Robert Muchmore were injured in this tackle and forced off. The Eels led 16-6 at the break. Smith and Dimmick returned, but the second half was just 3 minutes old when Craig Gower set up the Panthers' second try. 7 minutes later, another Cartwright pass saw the Panthers in again. Ryan Girdler's classic conversion, putting the home side in front by 2.
Oh, it's a great kick.
Rod Maybon's slip up on the bell saw Girdler cross. He finished with 12 points, giving Cartwright a victorious farewell. Freeman's exit, not so grand. Penrith home, 24-16. 2 champions say goodbye to Australian Rugby League.
At the Wacker ground, while the Reds farewelled club captain Michael Potter in his 200th game, Mark Geyer was in charge of welcoming the Dragons. Geyer inflicted more damage on the Saints. Luke Felch forced off, but with the Reds threatening, Ricky Walford took charge.
Evans gives chase. Walford, Ricky Walford. Walford slows down.
The Dragons unable to capitalise. Anthony Mundine turning from saint to sinner as another opportunity went begging.
Back on the inside. Mundine's knocked it on.
Chance after chance going astray. Missed opportunities the Reds made St George pay dearly for.
Peter Shields, he'll score a willie. Loaded the ball to 4 and Fuller scores.
The locals ahead 6-0 until right on half-time Nathan Brown pulled something special from his bag of tricks.
Lenihan, yes! Oh, what a try!
The Reds 6-4 at the break. A nervous Peter Mulholland soon given more to worry about.
Beautifully taken by Goldthorpe, and Goldthorpe will score!
St George looked in control, 2 tries stretching their lead to 22-6.
Whittle scored, try to the Dragons!
The Reds weren't finished, hitting back first through Julian O'Neill, then keeping the ball alive to move to within 6 points.
It comes back now to Chris Ryan. Ryan going for the line, throws the pass back on the inside. Manny Fuller picks it up, and Manny Fuller scores his second try.
But it was too late. St George securing a final spot, downing the Reds 22-16.
Well, look, 22-0, ensuring Wests get the last spot in the top 8. The Magpies beat Illawarra this afternoon, but their hopes were riding on that Cronulla victory.
As we said,
Sydney's big wet didn't miss Shark Park. Cronulla looking to move into the top 4. The Knights controlled their own finals destiny. A win they were in, a loss they were out. The match was only a minute old when the Sharks' Paul Green's quick tap went wide to Paul Donaghy. A bad miss by Matthew Gidley. Richard Barnett finishing things off.
Man inside, does he use him? Yes, he does. He'll go all the way. The Sharks will score.
Come the 14th minute, the Sharks again attacked Gidley. Donaghy successful a second time breaking through to present Barnett with number 2.
Craigie, he tries to get the ball inside, and this is Barnett, and Barnett will go over in the corner.
Knights coach Mal Reilly seeing his side's finals hopes sinking in the mud. Even the reliable Matt Rogers' boots struggled in the conditions, but not as much as the Newcastle handling. Right on half-time, Green strolled through some non-existent defence. The Sharks up 16-0 at the break.
Under the posts!
With the win behind Cronulla in the second 40, more soft defence saw the Sharks jump to 22-0 straight after the break.
Peachy will score.
Reilly may not have been happy with the 10-3 penalty count in Cronulla's favour, but even more frustrating, his team's mistakes. Cronulla easy 22-0 victors. John Lang and his Sharks are now in 4th spot, but Sydney City can grab that back tomorrow. As for the Knights, set your sights on season 97.
It's fairly disappointing, our enthusiasm and effort for this game, knowing the fact that we can make the top 8. Once you do that, it's a whole new ball game, but our year has been fairly lacklustre and it finished off that way too.
Earlier today, Wests ran on to Campbelltown with a gale behind them in the first half. It helped Andrew Leeds register first points. Then an amazing sight, Illawarra's kick-off. The ball goes the required 10 metres before it found its way back into Steelers territory. West came up with possession, and in that set of 6, Willie Newton picked up the first try.
Leeds with a chance, and Western Suburb.
The Steelers replied with some slick work in the 14th minute. Wayne Clifford closing the gap to just 2 before Leeds potted a few more penalty goals to see the Maggies up 12-6 at the break. Rod Wishart's 2-pointer putting the Steelers within 4 after 45.
There's another 2 to his 96 tally.
They say win causes players to do strange things. It all had Magpies coach Tommy Radonicus a little nervous. West scraping home 12-8 and are into the finals for the first time since 1992.
The line for Sydney City, Shane Riggin put the foot down just before half-time to make it 8-all.
And Riggin will go across for the Roosters.
The hits were hard and sometimes high. But for Roosters fans, the biggest hit of all was the 3 tries in the final 10 minutes. Sydney City's 24-10 victory gives them the critical double chance in the playoffs.
Junie
We're going to play Manly next week now, so it's another challenge, and we're looking forward to it, considering the last time we played them.
Manly go into that game against the Roosters with a thumping 48-10 victory over Souths at the football stadium. John Hopewati was the star of the show with 4 of the Sea Eagles' 9 tries. And at North Sydney Oval, the Bears had a similar hit out against the Gold Coast. Greg Florimo scored 2 of his side's 7 tries in the 38-8 win. The game also marked Florimo's 231st first-grade appearance for North, equalling the club record. Peter Overton, National 9 News.
Newcastle missed its chance for a Final 8 berth after losing 22-0 to Cronulla last night.
Only the very committed fans were on hand for last night's crucial match, but from the opening minutes it was never really a contest.
Barnett will go over in the corner.
Despite running into a gale force win, Cronulla racked up 16 points to 0, and by half-time the night's finals hopes had received a muddy burial. The Sharks' Paul Green had a whale of a game, and his form alone heading into the playoffs has Cronulla fans smiling.
Peachy will score.
Noah Nadruku was the star performer in Canberra's big win over the Crushers. The Flying Fijians scored 4 tries in the 36-10 victory. Nigel Gaffey pulled off the ankle tackle of the year, but no one could get a firm hand on Nadruku.
He gets there.
And Terry Lamb scored twice in what he says was definitely his last game. After retiring last year, Lamb came back for one final fling and finished his career today with a big win against the Cowboys. Canterbury piled on 50 points to 22. Like last year, Manly finished with the minor premiership and remained short price favourites to win the grand final. Newcastle's loss allowed West to secure 8th spot, while the Crushers got the wooden spoon. Pick the winners paid
back from 10 points down to beat Wests in a thriller at the Parramatta Stadium. The Sharks running in 2 tries in the last 7 minutes to keep alive their premiership hopes. The gallant Maggies gave them a hell of a fright.
Cronulla was out to wipe away the memories of last year's finals collapse. The Magpies were looking to keep alive the fairy tale story of '96. From the opening whistle, action aplenty. The match was just a few minutes old when the Sharks' Danny Lee was reported over this eye shot, and 9 minutes in, Cronulla found the open spaces, but David Peachy couldn't handle the footy. West claimed Andrew Leeds wasn't 100%, but his marks were nothing less under the high ball. Down the other end, Matt Rogers just as convincing. It took 26 minutes for the first points through Rogers before the Maggies picked up the opening 4-pointer through Paul Bell after 31. With West up 6-2 at half-time, Sharks coach John Lang may have been a little worried and turned to anguish soon after the break. The Maggies producing a bottler. Kennedy's hands superb. Willis putting his side up 10-2. Leeds then added the extras for a West 10-point lead after 44. 11 minutes later, Cronulla's Paul Green did it easy from the scrum base. The nail-biter had Lang reaching for the bottle. With 7 to go, another Sharks scrum win. Donaghy pushing off Ken McGuinness and Georgalis scores 12-all. Rogers put his sign up by 2. West coach Tommy Radonicus could see the fairy tale turning to a nightmare. His worst fears realised when Green again crossed. The Sharks 20-12 victors. They now meet the loser of the Brisbane Norths clash. The Magpies' premiership dreams shattered.
And so the fairy tale ends. It just wasn't to be for the Maggies, but Cronulla look forward to the next stage of their finals campaign. In the thick of the action at Parramatta Stadium tonight, Tony Peters.
Yes, thanks, Tim. The scoreline was certainly no indication of just exactly how tight this game was tonight, but a very significant win for the Cronulla Sharks, their first in a final series since 1988.
You know, it was a tough game, and I'm pleased to win it, obviously, and really proud of my team. But I thought, West really, deserved great credit as well.
Yeah, there's always concern when you were 12-2 down at one stage, and it was a situation where the guys knew that the end of their football season was on the line. So it was amazing how they picked up the tempo after that second try West put in, and I felt we were dominant in that remaining part of the game and got ahead and kept ahead.
Cronulla deserved their win, and we're out of business. But all I can say about my blokes is I'm that proud of them.